الله رحيم الله مالك الله قدوس الله.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna drop you. How are you, Karthik?
I'm well, alhamdulillah. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah. Good. Okay, let's get the live to 300 viewers, 320 viewers, and we'll start, inshallah. For the time being, I want to welcome both the interlocutors, Eminem and Yousif. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Today, our topic will be the spread of Islam versus the spread of Christianity, mainly the first 200 years. Some prohibited actions would be interruptions, so that will not be tolerated. Use of any blasphemous language will not be tolerated from both parties, and diverging off topic will not be tolerated from both parties. Let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it academic. The format will be 20-minute intros, 2 10-minute rebuttals, 12-minute cross-exam, and Q&A section will be 3 questions each. Are we agreed from both parties?
Yeah, agreed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
How long each? Sorry, how long you said? So each will have, or how's it gonna go?
20-minute intros, 2 10-minute rebuttals, 12-minute cross-exams, and 3 questions each in the Q&A section.
Okay.
Sounds good? Are you guys interested in doing a closing statement or no?
What do you mean by closing statement?
As in conclusion, you just summarize what you said.
Would you guys like to do a 5-minute conclusion, or you want to go straight to the Q&As?
Can we get the end? Can we get the end, like people to ask questions and then we both answer?
We're doing 3 questions each. But before the questions, would you guys like closing statements for 5 minutes?
What do you mean by closing statements? I'm sure. What does that mean? Closing statement.
You're meaning you summarize your points.
You summarize the arguments. Yeah. Conclusion.
Okay. Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, make it like 5 minutes then.
5 minutes each. Sounds good. Okay, perfect. So again, for all the audience, it will be a 20-minute introduction, 2 10-minute rebuttals for each party, 12-minute cross-exam, and 5-minute closing, 3 Q&A questions for each party. I would like to introduce both of my interlocutors. Eminem is a passionate defender of Orthodox Islam and a dedicated da'i with a reputation for engaging in deep and intellectual debates. As a researcher, he has tackled challenging conversations with diverse groups, including Christians, Ash'aris, Maturidis, Jews, atheists, and others, earning respect as an up-and-coming voice in the world of the interfaith dialogue. His approach combines rigorous scholarship with a commitment to Islamic orthodoxy. Yousif, our other interlocutor, is a steadfast Coptic Christian and a strong advocate for the Miaphysite Christological position of the Coptic Orthodox Church. Known for his defense of his church's ancient traditions, he engages in theological debates with a wide range of interlocutors from Eastern Orthodox, Catholics, Protestants, and Muslims. His knowledge and unwavering dedication make him a representative of the Coptic faith. Those were the introductions for both the interlocutors, and I think now we have 400 viewers. We are good to start. If both of you guys are ready, I'll pull up the timer and we'll get started right away. Are you guys ready, both of you?
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay, and who would like to start, or should we do a coin
first?
Up to you. I can start if you want.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, do you guys want to do a coin flip, or Yousef, are you okay with him starting? Sultan?
I'm okay with him starting.
Okay, Sultan will start. Let me just get the timer. Give me a second.
Make it visible, if that's possible.
Yes. Give me just 1 second. I can make it visible, absolutely. One moment.
I'm freezing.
All right, and as soon as you start talking.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى حبيب الله وآية ورحمة للعالمين محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام على من اتبع الهدى. Peace on to those who have followed the guidance of Allah. Ladies and gentlemen, today lays before you a subject that is often not spoken about, if at all. I wish to collect the rewards of Allah have by letting all of us in here learn something new and bring about the light of Islam, letting it ride triumphant in front of our non-Muslim audience. As difficult as it may seem to our interlocutor, many Christians, as to how I shall go about dealing with the subject at hand, let us start with a few agreements. First, this entire debate will heavily concern itself with the use of primary sources, with secondary literature only being used further to reinforce an already established premise. On this basis, I expect my opponent not to waste time quoting sources such as 14th century historian al-Maqrizi, Ibn Khaldun, or 11th century writings by Ibn al-Athir and al-Yaqubi or al-Bayruni as they extend many centuries later. Second, one of the conditions posed yesterday by Yousif was what claim one's own religious sources make ought to be validated externally. Otherwise, one ought to be skeptical. I hope he keeps that condition that he put yesterday. Now, to begin with a brief overview over Christianity's early history, our guest assumes that his dogma spread merely by pacifistic means, therefore somehow superior. But prior to concerning ourselves to the question of methodology, is there even anything we can historically know about the spread of Christianity, specifically Egypt, since he's a Copt? According to multiple historians, such as German historian Walter Bauer and historian of Christianity and biblical scholar Adolf Harnack and German historian Karl Müller, all agree that there is virtually next to nothing that we can know about the spread or even presence of Christianity in Alexandria, let alone Egypt, prior to 180 CE. This remains to be so until 180 CE, leaving Yousef absolutely clueless as to the origins of his beliefs, with only 20 years worth of covering with some substance. Nevertheless, we shall utilize whatever remains of Christian artifacts. All denominations love to think that their belief merely spread by means of preaching, though it was through the use of deception and tolerance of paganism did Christianity grow. Traveling all the way back to the 50s and 60s CE, during the early stages, according to Acts 28, 23 to 28, Paul causes public disturbance and completely denounces preaching the Jews, only accepting the Gentiles. A couple of years prior, Paul preaches on his own will for 14 years without verifying his gospel, Galatians 2, 1-2. Then, when arriving to Jerusalem, multiple men had already cast suspicion on him based on Galatians 1:10. Even when arriving on at the feet of the disciples, he belittles their status, claiming it makes no difference, and he complains about it in Galatians 2:6. The Jewish Christian party departs from the Pauline, with Peter and James to the Jews and Paul to the Gentiles, Galatians 2:9. The love for the Torah Peter had is evident as he was a follower of John the Baptist, as shown in John chapter 1, verses 35 to 41. A man zealous for the law. Furthermore, for Peter was a Levite, demonstrated by Acts chapter 4, verse 36, one of the strictest observers of the law. Now, this very same Paul, with the holy disciples unaware, goes to tell the innocent and gullible converts that getting circumcised cuts you off from Christ, as per Galatians chapter 5, verses 2-4. As time passes, James hears of this and complains to Paul that people are claiming that converted Jews are being told to stop following the Torah despite being Jews. Acts 21, 20-21. Paul does not confirm nor deny the allegation, then in a two-faced fashion proceeds to participate in a purification ceremony at the temple in Jerusalem, following Jewish tradition and where only Jews are allowed to go. Paul voices how he masks himself, pretending to be a Jew to the Jews and a Gentile to the Gentiles. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 20 to 21. He does not attempt to hide this fact, as in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 2, he claims to have fathered the Gentiles, even if many communities don't consider him a legitimate apostle. He claims more people ought to follow him. He worked harder. He suffered more. He preached more. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, 22 to 23, and 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 8 to 10. This is why the followers of James and Peter, otherwise known as the Nazarenes, hated Paul and considered him an apostate. According to an Ebionite tradition said to be preserved by the early church father Clement of Rome, Peter complains to James about an enemy who states that the law should not be observed, and it is Peter claiming such, which is a lie made against him. This is why, and by the way, at any point you want the source, just stop me, pause the time, and I'll give it to you. At any point. This is why fabrications were made to reconcile the two figures. The only way for Christianity to spread. The tradition of Peter and Paul being martyred together in Rome is made up by Eusebius in 325, unflushed by Clement of Rome. The epistle of 2 Peter was forged in his name to show an alignment between the two ancient figures. Eusebius deemed it a fabrication. Lucian of Antioch makes no mention of its existence. Neither does John of Chrysostom or Theodore of Mesopotamia. Christians fabricated even more to promote Christianity. The gap between Paul to just a martyr had to be filled with forgeries attributed to John, such as 2nd and 3rd Epistle of John, as doubted by Origen, Eusebius, and Jerome, with letters given to Ignatius, like to the Philippians, and to Antiochians, and the Trallians, statements placed into Josephus's lips through Eusebius, and endless more lies. Even with these effects at hand, and the aid of the Holy Spirit, there was no more than 1,000 Christians by the year 100 CE, as concluded by Catholic theologian David Sim. With the advent of the 2nd century, it was the so-called heretics who dominated Egypt, such as Valentinus and Basilides, based on the confession of Church Father Epiphanius. Hardly a trace of Copts, let alone Orthodox, even being present. During the mid-2nd century, a certain Christian audience, using the Apocalypse of Peter, details how, quote-unquote, the Orthodox lead many and innocent young minds to death constantly in the alleged name of martyrdom. Then, by the end of the 2nd century, a letter attributed to Emperor Hadrian sent to Severinius exposes that in visiting Alexandria, Christians, Coptics specifically, are found casually worshipping the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis alongside Christ, practicing magic, witchcraft, and constantly hungry for money. In some, it was through manipulation, deceit, fabrication, and worldly greed did Christianity spread, not by fantasies of heroism, with each group claiming stories of martyrdom as their own. All these liberalized Christians take pride in their highly pacifistic approach, but it was for this very reason it did not spread. It did not spread through education, trade, travel, or conquests. It remained weak, politically enslaved, causing the heresies to dominate and create apostasy, literacy rates and education to remain low, technological advancements to be non-existent, socially and economically insignificant, letting 30,000 Jews get persecuted in 66 to 70 CE during the Roman Jewish War, with a couple of more thousands taken at hand during the Bar Kokhba Jewish revolt in 135 CE. No courageous warrior, nor God-fearing man to rescue and save these lives. No one to provide a safe haven and rule by the commandments of God. This is the reality of this pathetic, pacifistic movement. Now, moving on to the second phase, we start with 610 CE, with the commence of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's prophethood and preaching of Islam. The Prophet spent a decade of his life preaching to the public through discussions and argumentations provided by the Quran. Through this, the likes of Zayd bin Harith, Abu Bakr, Uthman bin Affan, Zubayr bin Awam, Abdurrahman bin Auf, and many a dozen more voluntarily converted to Islam in 613 CE. The Prophet also extended the reach of Islam by repetitively seeking to free slaves, as he did with Salman al-Farsi, or the poor boy being traded, so he adopted him. Abu Bakr follows the same footsteps as with the example of Bilal and freeing 7 more slaves. By presenting the scripture, did At-Tufail bin Amr convert, and through him did 1,000 more convert through his tribe. The Prophet ﷺ had trained students in order to then send the likes of Ibn Mas'ud or Ubay bin Ka'b to further regions and extend Islam's outreach. Trade was also incorporated as a means, with Abu Musa al-Ash'ari's sent to Yemen for trade. The Prophet set up schools, teaching his followers scripture, manners, ethics, wisdom, and strongly emphasizing knowledge and education. On other occasions, the Prophet ﷺ would stretch the horizons and of Islam by means of conquests, providing peace treaties to living minorities such as Jews and Christians, even with the cultic pagan Arabs themselves. Warfare and military expansion came with conditions and divine stipulations. The Prophet ﷺ declared, "No child can be harmed, nor a monk, nor a woman, and the warrior ought to not transgress and become savage-like or bloodthirsty." 13th century polymath Ibn Taymiyyah comments regarding Christians, quote, "Majority of the people of Levant, Sham, converted to Islam voluntarily, not forcibly, for enforcing the dhimmis into Islam is not allowed." Catholic historian and Orientalist Bosworth Smith admits in 1874 that no man has ever been through so much suffering, so much change, yet remained so calm and wise. Only this, he says, can be affirmed from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Moving forward onto the Sahaba, we begin from the year 632 CE. For this section, I'll be attempting to rely exclusively on non-Muslim sources of a contemporary nature backed by numerous different backgrounds. I challenge my opponent to even come one-fourth, the same amount as me when substantiating his own history. Starting with the first source, we have the Doctrina Jacobi that dates to 634 CE, and it's located from Palestine and it's written in Greek. For that specific document, it talks about how the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was seen as a liberator, and the Jews expected the awakening of the Prophet to come. And from there, they felt free for the first time out of the Byzantine persecution, and they ended up wanting the Prophet ﷺ's help, according to this Greek Christian source dating to 634 CE. According to another source that is a Syriac chronicle called The Life of Saint Gabriel of Qartamin that dates to 639 CE, there was a event that took place between Umar ibn Khattab and Gabriel of Qartamin, who is a Syriac Orthodox bishop. They ended up inviting each other, and they met in Medina, where Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh gave him governance and gave him no taxation and gave him the ability to rule in Syria with his own land at Beit al-Aramai. And it says in that same document that the saint went back happy and glad that he had met the governor. That's source number 2. Source number 3, Saint Maximus the Confessor in 638, which is a Greek source talking about the Muslims in Palestine. He confesses how he is quite annoyed about the Jews welcoming the Muslims because they wanted their help from Christian persecution. That's source number 3. Source number 4, Sibios, Bishop of Bargaratonis, which was written in the 660s CE. He is an Armenian bishop and saint, and he talks about Palestine. Likewise, this source, just as Saint Maximus the Confessor, complains about how Jews were constantly welcoming the Muslims because they wanted to flee from Byzantine persecution. It seems so far that the non-Muslims really have a liking for the Muslims coming in, and they really have a hatred for the Christians coming out. You continue, source number 5, Salman bin Yurhim, who is a rabbi who is talking about the events that took place in 634. And this rabbi wrote these statements in the year 950 CE, so about 300 years or so later. He confesses that for the first time, Jews were able to have freedom, and for the first time, they were able to recite the Torah back in Hebrew, and for the first time, they were able to practice their religions and go to synagogues, specifically in Jerusalem, solely because of the Muslims saving them from the Christian persecution. That's source number 5, non-Muslim. Source number 6, Dionysius of Telemachre, which was speaking in 640 CE. He is a Syriac saint, and he talks about the events that took place in Egypt. And in there, he records how Coptics were willingly converting even while the Muslims were not invading the country yet. You go to source, number 7, Yohannan Niqyusi, which I'm sure my opponent will use eventually. So John of Niqu, he writes in the 700s, specifically 700 flat CE, talking about the conquest of Amr ibn As to Alexandria in Egypt that took place in 641 CE. He complains also how Coptics were willingly converting. And then he also complains how Amr ibn As went ahead and had many people convert from their women. And he also goes on to mention that Amr ibn As, in some of his sections, did not actually end up destroying churches, did not end up pillaging, did not end up ravaging, but rather guaranteed a security and did not burden them with taxation. Now, moving on to source number 8, can't keep up anymore. We have the Chronicle of Khuzestan, which is in Syriac, talking about the Persian invasions where the Arabs, the Muslims specifically, went ahead and conquered Persia. The Chronicle of Khuzestan, that was authored around 660 CE, talks about the events that took place just 10 years prior. The Jews were so happy at the coming of the Muslims that they thought that Muhammad ﷺ was the Messiah himself. That's how fantasized and overjoyed the Jews were. Find Christians coming up with these type of testimonies. Moving on to source number 10, John Bar Pankaye, who was writing in the 660 CE. He talks about the events that took place in the 630s and the event that took place in 661. He mentions in his book, the Chronicle, Rishmille, called Rishmille in Syriac, in the 630s, that it was the gift of God himself, that he sent the children of Hagar, the Ishmaelites, to conquer both kingdoms, just like Daniel prophesied, right? Just like Daniel prophesied in 2 and 7, to conquer both kingdoms as though it was a lion protecting her own cub, is the expression he used. And he said they did this not by sword, not by fire and wrath, but rather through mercy of God, that they ended up protecting the Christians. And he said that they gave glad tidings to the Christians that they will protect their monasteries and they will protect the monks and all the women in there and the children. Then you move on to John Bar Pankaye's testimony, not in the 630s, but the 660s, where he's talking about the caliphate of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. These are all non-Muslim sources. If you notice so far, I've only quoted one Jew and 9 Christians. One Jew and 9 Christians. All of them are contemporary, except for Yohannan Niqyusi, that Coptic that I know Yousif will use. So he goes on, he says that because of the teachings of Muhammad, not because of something else, he says because of the teachings of Muhammad ﷺ, that Muawiyah ended up respecting Christians, that he ended up protecting Christians, so much so that even the heretics were willing to come to terms and live together. Then he says at the bottom of his chronicle, on that page, he says that there was so much peace and prosperity that it had been something that our grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers could have never imagined, nor have ever spoke to us. And John Bar Pankaye goes on to say that it was a safe haven and a God-given heaven on earth. God-given heaven on earth. It was a God-given heaven on earth. Again, find a Jew saying that about a Christian or a pagan saying that about a Christian. You're not going to find that. But thankfully, all the sources say exactly what I want them to say, even though I don't own these people. They confessed it out of their own mouth. Continuing on to the next source, we have Daniel, Bishop of Edessa, who was speaking about the events in the 660s. He is a Syriac bishop talking about the Muslim conquest and the rulership in Mesopotamia. In the 670s, he writes that Christians were given authority and governance under the Islamic Empire. There were Christian secretaries, there were Christian tax collectors. Oh, sorry.
You want to just finish your sentence? Go ahead. Just finish your idea off.
That's fine. I don't want to cheat.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, guys, if your time runs out and you want to just complete the sentence you're making, that's absolutely fine. I just want to say something quickly here before we move on to the next introduction. Thank you, Sultan, for your introduction. I'm going to mod. I already have one mod. I'm going to mod Henny. Any comments? Any blasphemous comments, whether about the Holy Spirit, whether about Paul, Islam, will not be tolerated. You will be blocked out of the live. So this rule is for all. It's not just for Muslims or Christians. Anybody who blasphemes will be blocked. Henny, make sure you block anybody who blasphemes from both sides. And guys, anybody who makes jokes about 2015 beach of Libya stuff will be blocked. That's unacceptable. Okay? So let's just keep that in mind and let's not oppress. Okay? Thank you so much, Sultan, for your introduction. Coptic, it's your 20 minutes. As soon as you start talking, give me a second. Let me just. As soon as you start talking, I'll start your timer. Go ahead.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. That's all.
No worries.
Just gonna make everything on the same page. No. Okay. No. Right. Okay, so I'm pretty surprised how he chose this topic, because I was surprised that he would just consider and say, yeah, that Islam was spread by the sword. Even like Professor Ibrahim Ayman, he has 2 PhDs in Islamic studies. He said that it's not even debatable whether Islam was spread by the sword. Actually, early historians and early tradition said that, yeah, we did so. Even Ibn Qayyim himself says that, let me read it to you. Allah sent him, meaning the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, with a guiding book and the conquering sword, ahead of the hour. So Allah alone would be worshipped with no partner or associate. His provision was placed beneath his shade, and his sword and spear. Allah has established the religion of Islam with proof and evidence, with the sword and spear both together inseparable. You see, sword and spear. There's some evidence from the Quran and Sunnah. The evidence early indicates that the sword is the most important means that led the spread of Islam. Allah says, and then they use the Quran to justify it. It says, for it had not been that Allah checks one set of people by means of the monasteries, churches, synagogues, mosques, where in the name of Allah is mentioned, would surely have pulled, verify Allah would help those. Truly Allah is all strong and almighty. Right? So I'm surprised how he's like confused about it. But anyway, so when we look at Islam, right, why was it spread by the sword? I can give you many examples. Here's an example number one, right? An example number one would be when Islam was trying to spread, when the Prophet was trying to spread Islam in Mecca for 13 years, no one really embraced Islam. And even the Jews said, if I had one Jew to believe in me, I will get the whole surface of the earth to believe in me, right? So then, even the Jews even the Jews felt superior than the Arabs. That's why the Arabs felt inferior to the Jews. So then, when the Prophet went back there, he said to the Jews, Allah in Sahih Bukhari Hadith 3846, he says, where is it? 1 sec, let me find it. So he says what? He says, if only had 10 Jews to believe in me. But then he goes there and the Prophet says, when he entered Khaybar, right? Look what he does. When he unalives, and that's offensive jihad. That's not even like defensive, right? There's no justification for this. when he entered Khaybar, he had to unalive her father, her husband, her brother of Safi bin Tuhayya, and then she converted to Islam, right? And you know what she says when she converted to Islam? She says this, she says the following. She says, Safia, that's from the ulama. Safia said the Prophet used to be most hated man to her. This was because they killed her people during the Battle of Khaybar. The Muslims killed her husband, her father, and her uncle. They justly killed them in the battle, and they did not do so oppressively. She said, he was the most hated man to me, but he continued to treat me in a loving manner until he was the most beloved man to me. So if Islam was all about peace and love and coexistence, why did they have to unalive the father, the dad, all the people there of Khaybar, all the Jews, and also what do you call it? They had to use all the women there as captives. And as well, you guys probably know this, Khalid bin Walid. Khalid bin Walid was called the sword of Allah in Islam, right? Even there was a time where Abu Safwan, one of the Sahaba of the Muslims, said, I don't believe, I doubt that the Prophet Muhammad is a true, prophet. You know what he says? He says, after you lay down the, let me find it. He says that you should testify there is no Allah. Let me find it. One sec. Let me get it real quick. Yes. Okay. I found it. 1 second. Actually, no. Yes. Abu Safwan said that by Allah, if you testify that there is no Allah, but Allah and His Messenger, Muhammad's Messenger, then your head will be chopped. That's Abu Sufyan. That's one of the Sahaba doubting the Prophet of Muhammad. So if Islam was spread by peace, why is he, why is he like threatening him, right? Where is the coexistence? Even himself, the Prophet, right? In authentic hadiths, he used to unalive apostates. For example, let me give you prime examples. For example, the Prophet said, I've been victorious with terror. The Prophet said that we ordered to fight people until they become Muslims, and then no one fight against them. The Prophet said the paradise and another shade of swords. All this verse literally calling to jihad, right? Now look at this. Ali himself, the family of the Prophet, said, where is it? The Ali himself burned people alive that the Prophet ordered to kill apostates. So the family of the Prophet killed apostates. What's going on here? I thought Islam was coexistence and peace. What's going on here? Even here, if you look at here, even he took 19 attacks, and all of them was just because of Islam. Now, let me quote you some early historians, which he said wouldn't. Ibn Ishaq, who is a historian of the Sirat Rasulullah, the life of the Messenger of God, right? He speaks about all this stuff, where his student Ibn Hasham, because of his questioning, like, how could my Prophet do this? How could my Prophet do this? And some authenticity and some, I guess, chain narration, weak chain narrations, he says that, no, we're not going to take this. We're not going to take this. How come they take from the earliest Islamic tradition and they start removing stories? Al-Qawdi, right? Al-Waqdi, right? In a Kitab al-Maghazi, he speaks about this, how Islam expanded through the sword. Abal-Turi, Sif ibn Umar, Kitab al-Rida al-Furut, right? Ibn Sad, Hasham al-Kalbi, Abu Makhlaf, all these people speak about how Islam spread, right? Now, a lot of people don't say this. Sultan didn't say this. Actually, John ibn Ishaq says what? Says when Muslims entered Egypt, they left nothing else. They just paid nothing, right? When they entered, they went and unalived nearly anyone that's on the street. Where they made a poem, they said, they praised Amr. They said, oh Amr, do you know where the Copts originated from? He said, the remnants of the Pharaoh who were in Egypt, and the commander of the faithful. Omar ibn Khattab said, may God be pleased with him, forbade using them. Describe to me how they produced Egypt. He said, oh commander of the faithful, we forbade using them. He said, describe me how they reproduced Egypt. He said, when the Persians took the kingdom from the hands of the pharaohs, they killed the Copts. None of them remained except those who were forced to flee in Hir Arsana and other places. So here, Omar ibn Khattab is praising Amr bin As for unaliving the Copts of Egypt. I thought it was coexistence. But then obviously John ibn Ishaq is one of the earliest chronicles when it comes to the persecution of Islam. Even for example, Sabius, an Armenian bishop in the history of Heraclius, speaks about the Arab conquest. of Islam, right? Thomas the Presbyter, Chronicle of in the Chronicle of Thomas the Presbyter, a Syrian Christian. Theophilus of Edessa, in the Chronicles incorporated by the later Byzantine works. Dionysius, later, the one he quoted, the same people he quotes, he's living the parts where they literally said they took our women as captives and they unalived the men. So, yeah. A lot of historians take and say that in Islamic history, Islamic expansion, when it happened, what would happen is when the Muslims would enter the lands, they would unalive what do you call it? The husbands, or they should pay the jizya, right? So when they should pay the jizya or unalive the husbands and take the wives as sex slaves, captives and sex slaves. Subhanallah. So like, where is the coexistence here? Here, for example, anonymous Chronicle Al-Kawzan, right? George Rishadana, Michael the Syrian, all those are Syriac and I guess Oriental Orthodox Christians who testified to this. Zoroastrian and Persian chronicles, right? For example, anonymous Pilar Chronicle. And by the way, I have all their books, by the way. For Rub's the writers, Dizan and Mu'azab, all of these, they say in their own material how Islam was truly spread by the sword. Truly spread by the sword and chopping necks. Truly. Theophanes the Confessor, right? You got a Necrophorus of Constantinople, Agapi of Hercules, Jewish chronicles like Sefer Zerubbabel, Anan bin David. You got ancient medieval scholars like John of Damascus, right? The one who wrote against Islam. Theophilus the Confessor, Serapius, Thomas the Presbyter. All those are primary sources. I'm not giving you a secondary source. I'm giving you primary sources of such events, right? Even there is a scholarship now of how Islam is spread, like multiple scholars like William Welle, Sir Edward Gibbon, and all these are Muslim historians. Not any historians, Muslim historians. For example, Ibrahim Ayad, Raymond Ibrahim, like all these people are Muslim who testify to this, right? Hugh Kennedy, Patricia Cohen, all those are primary sources, by the way, just so you know. And they all testify to the fact that Islam was truly spread by the sword, right? They didn't really give this. John Q says in Owen's book, says what? Says the Muslims attacked the country of Egypt, killing and pillaging, and dominion imposed great hardship upon the people. His writing reflects perspective on Christian living under the newly established Islamic rule. They didn't leave children, they didn't leave women. They spent none left. That's what the Christian historian says. The Chronicle. Who we're gonna leave? And Makrizi, he says, that's according to his words, by the way, guys, don't forget this. He said, Yaqub said that he's gonna quote Makrizi. Of course I'm gonna quote Makrizi. And Makrizi, guys, quotes early historians. He doesn't quote from his head. He doesn't want to accept Makrizi because he's a Ismaili Shia, right? That is relevant to me. As long as you use enough evidence, that's fine, primary sources. So, again, he says, also, I want to understand how Christianity was spread, but so Christianity was only persecuted for the first 200 years. Christianity didn't have a state, guys. Christianity didn't have any emperor. Christianity had nothing, right? It was truly spread by martyrdom. In Egypt, my country, Egypt, right? I'm a Coptic Orthodox Christian. They were martyred. 3 million people died under the hands of the Diocletian and the emperors, the Roman emperors, Nefro. Even they had to, like, through martyrdom, Christianity was spread. Now tell me, your prophet, if he was such a claimed prophet, how come when he does a sermon, no one even believed in him? Even the Jews said, if one Jew believe in him, I'll get the whole surface of the earth to believe in me. How come? Saint Paul, Saint Peter, that's what the Bible says, right? Even historians make claim of this. Even the apostles, Saint Paul, those accused false prophet that you guys claim that he's burning in hell, right? God forbid. May his blessing be with us, Amen. This Saint Paul and the apostles, when they did the sermon, 5,000 people were converted and baptized into Christianity. 5,000 people. Your prophet one sermon, convert 5,000 people. Saint Paul, Saint Peter, Saint Mark, it was all preached through preaching. Subhanallah, God, how is Christianity the only religion? Through preaching, and everyone convert. First 200 years, what are you talking about? We had no state. We had the church, had literally no power. It was fighting internal heresies. This idea of Christianity spreading by the sword is a complete lie. You see how Christianity was spread? Christianity was spread by preaching and getting people to know the truth, while Islam was spread through expedition, military conquest, and military campaigns and civil wars, right? Even, a lot of people don't know this, right, according to Islam, right? But when the Prophet of Islam went, how did he do this? He was kicked from Mecca to Medina when he migrated there. And when he went there, guys, he used to find a civil war happening between the two tribes in Islam, right? The two tribes are called, I think it's called Al-Uz. Let me find it quick. Where is it? Even the Prophet said that the Qibla would be at Bet al-Qudasas to Kaaba in Mecca. Let me find it real quick. Where is it? What's the list? Yes, the mentality of Abay, the two Arabs, the polytheistic, right? And then the Arabs, then they all teamed up, right? Now, if you look at, for example, when he said, look what he says, the Prophet, right? That's what the Prophet said. He said, if you embrace Islam, you'll be safe. You should know the earth belongs to Allah and His Apostle. I want to expel you from this land. If anyone among you owns some property, right, he's permitted to sell it. Otherwise, you should know the earth belongs to Allah and His Apostle. So it's justifying he's saying that if no Christian or Jew will live in the land of Muslims, and all of you will be expelled. Look what he says in authentic hadith, right? It says in Sahih Bukhari 3012, it says, and ask permissible to attack the pagan warriors and the probability. The Prophet replied, from them all grazed lands, Allah and His Prophet. So he's allowed, it's permissible to unalive polytheist kids and polytheist what? And polytheist women. Subhanallah. I thought Islam was coexistence. He said in authentic hadith, says, I will expel the Jews and the Christians from Arabian Peninsula and will leave any Muslim. What about the ayah's no compulsion religion and this idea of like we can coexist, your God and my God, we're all one in Surah 27:11, right? Look what it says. Look what ayat come. Al-ayat al-sif, which is Surah At-Tawbah 5, right? It says in 9:5, look what it said. When the sacred months have passed, kill the polytheists wherever you find them and capture them and besiege them and wait for them in every place of the such. They should repent, establish prayer and give zakah. Right? Now, look what's going on here, guys. Look what's going on here. Now, the ayat of Sif come, now Surah Tawbah 5, when Mecca was conquered. Now, when Islam has the power, when the tribes were all one, right? By the way, guys, all the battles that his Prophet participated in, the 90 battles, were all economical. There wasn't religious. There was no scholarship on this, whether it's actually religious battles. Rather, what it was just an economical, just to get money. That's why the Prophet himself went after caravans and stole money. All this, because what? Because of economical motivation. It wasn't because of religious motivation. Let's keep this very clear, right? Now, when the ayat al-Sif came, look what happens. The polytheists didn't have a choice. They either become Muslim or you die. That's what it was. You either become Muslim and you die. Even according to the four madhab, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the four fuqaha, they even agree upon this, right? Even Imam Shafi'i goes even further and says, no, if they're not Christian and Jews and the polytheists, they either convert as the people of the book or they should be put to death, right? Subhanallah. So where is the coexistence? My question would be, right? So then, when ayat al-Sif came, there was no polytheists now. Now, all the Arabia had no choice. And now that's when his Prophet went to Kaaba and destroyed all the 360 idols in Kaaba. Where's the coexistence? You see, guys, they're destroying idols. They are unaliving all the polytheists there. That's why Islam grew so fast. They said, either you become Muslim or you will face the sword. That's how it is. You are Arab polytheists. You're all kuffar in my eyes. Right? So then after this, right, what happened was Surah At-Tawbah 29. Where it says that they should pay the jizya or they'll be humiliated. Now, Islam doesn't teach, they're not madhali, like I teach this, right? ISS and Arkia and all this stuff, all these organizations, Islamic organizations, don't actually do what Islam does, right? They actually unalive Christian and Jews. They don't teach this in Islam. They teach to persecute the Christian and Jews. That's different. You see the difference between the two? Persecuting the Christian and Jews and unaliving the polytheists. That's why when the Muslims, when the Khalif of Abu Bakr went to Persia, right, they unalived the Yazidis. They didn't give the choice. The Assyrians were persecuted for their faith, for being Christians, while the Yazidis and the Druses were put to death. They had no choice. Where's the choice, Agama? They were just put to death straight away. Why? Because they're polytheists. That's why many embraced Islam. That's why many people come from a Druze background or a polytheist background or a Zoroastrian background, because they embraced Islam. They were scared, right? Now, me as a Arab polytheist, who my God doesn't even intervene, what am I going to do, ya Jama'ah? What will I do? Will I embrace Islam and be saved? Or what should I do? Or should I leave Islam and just, and just be put to death? Right? They had no choice. Either they embrace Islam or they be put to death. Now, a lot of people don't know this, right? Khalid bin Walid, right? Look what he said, right? He questioned whether these people were Muslims, right? It is Khalid by God. After you lay down your weapons, it will be nothing but leather manacles. And after leather manacles, it will be nothing but the smiting of necks. By God, I will never lay down my weapon. His people did not heed his advice and assured the people have become Muslims. That's what he said. He said in the verse, like, we have become Muslims. Like, relax, we have become Muslims. Khalid bin Walid. Nonetheless, once he put his weapons down, he says, because of Khalid, he ordered that their hands should be tied behind their backs and put them to the sword, killing some of them. Muslims killing Muslims. That's Khalid bin Walid, the Sif of Allah, according to you guys. Subhanallah, like, I don't understand. Like, what is the point of this, right? Even the Hurub al-Rida, right, the apostasy wars. When the Muslims, after the Prophet died, a lot of people said, okay, Habibi, now I am not in danger. Let me go live in Islam. They all start living in Islam. Ask Yaqub about this, guys. Everyone ask Yaqub. When the Prophet died, thousands left Islam. Thousands. When people start being munafiqeen, right? Where they used to say that you're Muslim and they're not actually Muslim. Even, for example, right? Even some seek to depict the Muslim rates as different from the common practicing from the 7th century Arabians. Muslim sources do not represent such claim. Classic historians do not shy away from depicting Muhammad as the highway. Christ said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. That's the true love, ya jama'ah. That's the true love. Christ teach you all love and thing. Church never advocated for death or anything. You see how Islam was spread and you see how Christianity was spread. Now, let me read you some letters when the Prophet said. The Prophet sent a letter to Jafar, the joint of King of Osman. Now, let me show you guys. When the Muslims were persecuted, they went where? They went to the Ethiopian king or emperor, King Negus, right? Negus, the Oriental Orthodox King Negus, the Ethiopian Orthodox, right? He came as refugees that said, please help us, and they helped them, right? Look what he says. That's the Prophet sending a message to the emperors. Look what he says, guys. Look what he says. He says, I invite you to Islam. If you come to Islam, your safety is assured. If you don't, you will face the sword. That's a letter. They're all the same letters, right? The letter to Khwarezm, the king of Persia. The letter to Asma bin Abzar. The letter to, what do you call it? Jaifar. The letter to Jaifar, the king of Osman. The letter to Heracles, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. Every single one of them is like this. Now he's going to ask me how Islam persecute. Do you guys know there's a scholarship on this, that the Muslims overestimate the number of opposition? The Romans could be 800 and they would say 80,000. Subhanallah.
That's time. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We are moving on from our introduction period to our not cross exam.
Main rebuttal.
Period. So our rebuttals, just to remind everyone, will be 10 minutes. We're gonna have 2 rebuttals each. Sultan Eminem, he will go ahead with the first rebuttal, and it will be 10 minutes. Give me a second. Let me set up the timer. Okay. One moment. Okay, when you're ready, as soon as you start talking.
Okay, let me just clear it off, drop a few consensus in here, okay? Not my sources, yeah? He said scholarship, whatnot. Bernard Lewis, he's from the 20th century. He has a book called Cultures in Conflict, Christians, Muslims, and Jews in the Age of Discovery. This is page 16 to 17. He says the Islamic world, in contrast, was diverse in composition and pluralistic in character. Muslims were willing to tolerate significant differences in practice and even belief among themselves. They were also willing to concede a certain place in society to other approved religions. There is no true equivalent to this tolerance in Christendom until the wars of religions finally convinced Christians that it was time to live and let live. During the 8 centuries that Muslims ruled part of Iberian Peninsula, Christians and also Jews remained and even flourished. Cool. Next person, John Davenport. He said this in 1882. So we're going to quite a few century back. He says the limits which Muhammadan intolerance had prescribed to itself were seldom transgressed. The word they pledged to unbelievers was rarely fortified, and with all their insolence and oppression, the Muslim conquerors were mild and tolerant in comparison with those who obeyed the pontiffs of Rome and Constantinople. So much so that it may be affirmed with certain truth that if the Western princes had been the lords of Asia instead of the Saracens and the Turks, they would have not have tolerated Muhammadanism as much as Muhammadans have tolerated Christianity, since they persecuted with the most relentless cruelty. That's from An Apology for Muhammad and the Quran, page 82. Okay, next person. Who do I want to pick? Let's see. Okay. Thomas Walker Arnold, famous Orientalist from the early 20th century. He says in his book, The Preaching of Islam, second edition, in 1913, page 134, he says, of forced conversion or anything like persecution in the early days of the Arab conquest, we hear nothing. Indeed, it was probably in a great measure their tolerant attitude towards the Christian religion that facilitated the rapid acquisition of the country. Now, are these muzzies? Did I pay these people? Did I put the propaganda in their mouth? Did I find these books and just cherry pick them like that?
I'm allowed to speak between you or not allowed?
No. That's later on.
No, Coptic.
Okay.
Sorry.
One sec. Coptic, remember, there's no interruption. So this time is for him, 10 minutes, and then rebuttal time will be for you, 10 minutes. You'll have a cross-exam period where you guys will go back and forth, question and answer. So I'm gonna give you an extra 10 seconds, Sultan. All right?
Jazakallah khair.
All right.
Like,
go ahead.
so unless these people are delusional, which by the way, I have like 50 more ready to go, unless these different scholars are all delusional, I don't know what to make of it. So that's first consensus. Second thing, I gave a second consensus, which we know next to nothing about Christianity at Alexandria. Okay, so I hope he can deal with that because it was his introduction. I told him not to bring me late sources. I want primary sources. Then it brings me Ibn Qayyim, who number one is talking about a book on fiqh. He's not giving me tarikh, so that immediately gets kicked out the window. Then it gives me Al-Maqrizi, who writes 700 years later after the Arab conquest took place, which I frankly don't care about. And then he gives me Michael the Syrian and all these people and Thomas the Presbyter. The same Michael the Syrian, by the way, let me read you exactly what this same Michael the Syrian says. Michael the Syrian is a very funny person. Okay? He's a very funny person. He says that the Muslims came in like the wrath of God, with the hand of vengeance, and swept away the Byzantines and saved the Orthodox Christians. The same Michael the Syrian said this. And go look at his own student, Barhabrios, who said that. Oh, wait, you mentioned Barhabrios. Then you mentioned Al-Baladhuri. Rahimahullah, in his Futuh al-Buldan. The same Al-Baladhuri, in his own book, you go to Futuh al-Buldan. This is page 187, that was published in 1987. When the Muslims were at the Battle of Yarmouk in 635 CE, the Christians and Jews were literally waiting at the gates of Emesa. So the Muslims tried to open it, because the army of Heraclius were out front. So what did the Christians and Jews say in this same recording by Al-Baladhuri? They said, and I quote, "Your rulership and justice is more beloved to us than what we were under from the oppression and injustice by the Byzantines." So I gave you 9 Christian sources saying, hey, we love Muslims. I gave you 3 Coptic sources saying, hey, we love Muslims. I mean, look, if you hate us so bad, why did your own patriarch come to us and ask Umar bin As? Why did Benjamin the First, who was patriarch of Alexandria, come and beg Amr bin As's feet? Why did he ask for him? Why did he ask for the woman to return back? And Umar bin Khattab went ahead and granted them that same decision. You go to Tarikh al-Tabari. This is volume 4. You go in there from Darib al-Jawzi, the print that I have. Umar bin Khattab literally gives a choice. Hey, you want your woman back? No problem. You can have them back, but at least give them the chance. If they want to convert to Islam, let them convert. If they want to be a Christian, they can go back home and be a Christian. But he says, as for the people who are already intermixed in Medina and Mecca, I cannot guarantee returning them because it's too late. I'm not going to go search for every single one of them. Then he brought in the hadith about, if it's one of them, then you can unalive them. That hadith is about collateral damage. It's unintentional unalivings. In fact, if you go to Sahih Bukhari, the name of the chapter is literally called unintentional unaliving, unintentional unaliving is literally the name of the chapter. So go look at it, and you'll know why. Then I brought up the fact. Look, I don't frankly care about whether you spread by the sword or not. That was never my claim. Just because you're like pacifistic doesn't make you like a good man. I think that's pretty stupid. It shows that you're cowards, and that's exactly what happened with the Jews. You couldn't help the Jews. You couldn't even help yourselves. You can't even help innocent people. You just constantly die and you get stepped on, and that's why you're weak. You constantly get weakened, and that's why heretics overpower you and they overshadow you, and that's why they take over. And I already mentioned that. That's why your Copticism was constantly dying over and over. It was always other people controlling you, not the other way around, because they always put you beneath their feet rather than the other way around. If you know anything about politics, you know that you need some type of power to guarantee security for your own people. If you cared even a little bit about your own people, you would try to reinforce some type of law. So that's another thing. I have yet to hear so far a single primary source when it comes to 1st and 2nd century Christianity. Yesterday, in his own live, he was talking to his friends, and they were giggling, laughing, and chatting, and they were saying, it's easy to make a claim, right? But I want a source for everything he brings, and I want a primary source specifically. I didn't hear no documents from the 1st century. I didn't hear anything about carbon dating. I didn't hear anything about scholarly consensus. Then he brought me some scumbag like Ibrahim Raymond, who nobody acknowledges, by the way. And funny enough, this person that nobody acknowledges, you mentioned Hugh Kennedy, go to his book called The Arab Conquests. In there, when he talks about the conquest of Persia, he said that the Muslims did nothing. They let the Persians believe in whatever they want to believe. They just asked for the jizya, and they didn't have to convert. They don't have to become people of the book. You just fabricated that story. I don't know why you brought in why Ibn Hisham had to quote unquote re-render the story of Ibn Ishaq. Has nothing to do with it. Please deal with the testimonies of these Christians saying that they like the Muslims. You giving me counter testimonies of the same Christians is only resulting in a contradiction. So all I have to do is just give you more testimonies. So let's go through them. You have Athanasius of Balad. You have Isaac of Rahoti, who's a patriarch of Alexandria. Then you have John of Samund, who is a patriarch of Alexandria. Then you have Theodotus of Amida, who confesses that when the heretics were unjustly treating the Coptics, the Coptics went ahead and complained to the Khalifa of that time, and the Khalifa said, okay, I'll help you. So he ended up kicking out the Syriac Orthodox, and he put 2 Coptics in place, and he let them govern by their own rule. I don't know why you didn't bring that up, where you didn't address it. Then you have, let's see, Jacob of Edessa. Jacob of Edessa writes multiple writings about fatwa, essentially, fiqh fatwa, about why it's okay for a woman who just happens to love a Muslim so much, why it's okay for her to convert to Islam, because he just can't help and stop it. Pseudo-Methodius, which is ascribed to Methodius, okay, an early writer, they go ahead and talk about this same idea that Christians were willingly converting, okay? And you have Zacharias of Bishop of Sakha, okay, who was also a Coptic, and he ruled from 700 to 731. He also talks about how the Muslims treated him well, okay? If you're going to bring Edward Gibbon, if you're going to bring Patricia Crone, if you're going to bring people like Michael Cook, just a reminder that people like Michael Cook and Patricia Crone were such buffoons that they thought that Muhammad ﷺ didn't exist for about 12 years of their life in their book called Hagerism. Then they doubled down on it later on in 1985 after publishing it in 1971. So I'm not going to take these type of people seriously. Again, now, in your rebuttal, address how there is a consensus about no Christians in Alexandria. We don't have any first-hand testimony about that. We don't have any primary sources. Address the overwhelming scholarship that has a consensus about it. Address the early sources that I named one by one, language by language, date by date, name by name. And I gave you their testimonies one by one. And I gave you from different denominations, and they all testify to the same thing. So unless you can outdo me, do that. And then please address all the good behavior I gave you of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Don't just flick it off, because I already admitted that he did do conquest, but it was just, and I gave you a hadith where he said you can't kill women and children.
You have 10 more seconds if you want to.
It's fine. I don't need it.
All right. Thank you so much for that rebuttal. Very well appreciated. We are going to move on to our second rebuttal by Yousif. Yousif, whenever you're ready, as soon as you start talking, I will start your time.
Okay. All right. So let's address these things, okay? So in the first 200 years, Christianity was martyred by every single group, by the Romans, by the Persians, by every single group. Even in Egypt in itself, Emperor Diocletian testifies to have martyred enough Coptic Christians where the blood would reach the horse's knees, right? Even as well, there is actually Dr. Junkman. If you actually look him up, he speaks about how Christianity wasn't foreign until the 5th century. This is a later for the attack of Monophysites. I don't know if you know this. According to history, we were Monophysites. We weren't even declared Christians. This is why the Catholic Church, when they attacked us, they said, unalive every filthy Coptic Monophysite. But that's irrelevant. Now we're going into different denominations and all this. You know what's funny, guys? When Sultan said this, he quoted and said, "Oh, Islam actually was peaceful and very tolerant, right? And Christianity was just forceful and violent." It's so funny because we're discussing about the first 200 years. Don't forget the topic. We're not discussing the history of Christianity and the first history of Islam. So all this 21st and 20th century and 19th and 18th scholars you're giving me, all those don't bear on me. Why? Because they're saying from what do you call it? From what's the English word for it? Yeah, and from a total perspective. Do you get what I mean? So I don't know why you're going off topic. We're not discussing the whole history of Christianity and Islam. We're discussing the first 200 years of Islam and the first 200 years of Christianity, Habibi. Yeah, and I don't understand why you have to shift the goalpost, right? Because that's a fallacy in itself. I said I didn't quote any historians. I did very much quote early Muslim historians. And you know what's funny, Habibi? Jonathan IQ, the same person you're trying to appeal to the whole time, doesn't give you justice. He's the one that went Islam and just like kept attacking it the whole time. To the point where the Muslims had to burn his work. Because he was written in Coptic, and the Muslims. Now my question is, if Islam was peaceful and tolerant, it came to Egypt. We don't speak your language, Habibi. We speak Coptic. So how can we understand you? If we speak Coptic, a language that you don't speak, the only way we can understand you if you do this. You put a sword and say this. You don't testify in that there is no God except Allah. That's it. That's what you have to do. Then we understand you're threatening us, right? So Pope Benjamin, actually, he says the one that was in the monastery, right? I'm going to quote certain thing. Amr bin As actually asked the Pope to pray for him. Amr bin As, your leader, asked my Pope to pray for him. SubhanAllah. Right? I don't know, there's the sound at the back. What is this?
One sec, Coptic. 1 second. Hold on. Let me stop your time. Can you speak? Your sound there went a little bit crazy there. Can you speak?
Yeah, hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, it's back to normal. I'll give you an extra 5 seconds. Go ahead, continue.
All right, thank you. So early historians, for example, non-Muslim historians and I guess not Muslim historians, right? They all testify the persecution of Christians. For example, Jonathan IQ, which I don't know why you keep appealing to me. He's the one that literally wrote against Islam. He's the one that why we have it Tariq al-Aghbat. He's the one why we have the history of the Copts. He's the one why al-Maqrizi took from. Guys, I'm quoting Maqrizi because he's giving primary sources. Can you give me a source that Maqrizi quotes that's not? Al-Maqrizi, guys, records that Muslims, when they came to Egypt, they destroyed 33,000 churches. Can you debunk that, Yaqub? Can you debunk that? I don't think you can. Al-Maqrizi says that the Muslims were not fair to the Christians. They used to, anytime, they used to see, they didn't even allow the Christians to do where they had to, what they had to do, guys, listen, everyone listen what I said. They had to even jail the Pope, where the Pope of Ethiopia, right? This is a history you never heard before, guys. A history you never heard before. The Emperor of Ethiopia, Kyriakos, King Kyriakos, right? That's his name, right? He said, that's it. They're not going to touch one of the Coptic popes. That's the Ethiopian king, right? He said, now we have to war, right? He said, 100,000 Nubians, 100,000 Copts, 100,000 Aksumites from the Ethiopian Empire, 300,000 Orthodox, Orient Orthodox Christian swerving in the streets of Alexandria, all trying to free the Pope. You know what they did? They slaughtered anyone who was in front of them. Anyone, Muslim, any was in front of him or was just gone. All this to free the Pope. But you know what's funny, Habibi? The funny thing about this, when they did that and they slaughtered, they didn't stay like Islam and stay in the country and start persecuting the people. What they did, they freed the Pope, and the Pope said, you guys didn't have to. That's what the Coptic Pope said. You guys didn't have to. You can go back now. That's what the Pope said. Occupation was done. It's as if exactly how like Israel and Palestine, they went on occupation, that's it. You get what I mean? So it wasn't as if they went and they stayed and they persecuted. They went and they left, right? I give you the source if you want, right? John Q speaks about, even the history of the patriarchs, Sabitio speaks about it. Now, I challenge Yaqub, Ibn Qayyim himself, no historian, guys. I challenge Yaqub, any early historian who didn't say Islam was spread by the sword. I challenge you. Give me a 7th, give me an 8th, give me a 9th, give me a 10th. You're not going to speak about it. Even there's that thing the hadith says in Sahih Muslim, book 19, number 4294. Look what it says. It gives you criteria how to meet the polytheists. When you meet your enemies who are polytheists, invite them to 3 courses of action. If they respond to any of these, you also accept it and withhold yourself from doing them any harm. Invite them to accept Islam. If they respond to you, accept it from them and desist from fighting against them. He told you, if they accept the jizya, accept it. And jizya, guys, no any tax. It's a humiliating tax. It's supposed to make you like this. Like your head down, yalla, give me the jizya while your head is down. Even people were slaughtered. Like historians say, that people were slaughtered for the cause of this. Okay? Look what he says. Look what he says. He says, if they refuse to accept Islam, demand from them the jizya. If they agree to pay, accept it from them. Hold off your hands. If they refuse to pay, tax and seek Allah help and fight them. Fight in the way of Allah and His Messenger. Why are you guys fighting in the way of Allah and His Messenger? Where is peace in Islam? Where is the idea of salam and coexistence and khudwat? Where is this? Even you guys have something called ghazwa, which is a holy war. What does ghazwa mean, even Yaqub? Okay, Sabayyas. He said Michael the Syrian. Michael the Syrian, he will destroy you. I am not even joking when I say this. In his own book, he gives the Arab conquest of Egypt and describes the campaigns of violent, of transformative. He said they spared not enough. When they walked and the lands, anything they saw, the women used up as sex slaves. So why you Muslims are using our women as sex slaves? What are we? Are we just toys to you guys? Where's the coexistence in love? Why do you have to unalive our men? And if they pay jizya, then they stay. How come? Sabias, Armenian bishop and historian, describes the early Islamic conquest, particularly the battle against the Byzantine and Sabbatian empires. The accounts focus on military strength of Arab armies. His chronicles documented, even Dionysius of Dehram, his chronicle documented, you see all the chronicles, and by the way guys, all these chronicles, so just all know. Now I'm going to ask you guys a question. Now, if Islam is occupied there, how did they write all this history without Muslims saying, okay, I'm going to burn this. Oh yeah, I'm going to burn this. How are you writing? How dare you write like this about Islam? How dare you? You know why, guys? I'll tell you a secret that you guys never heard of before. They actually didn't write in the language. You know what they wrote in? They wrote in the language that no one can speak. For example, our Coptic bishop wrote in Giz. Giz is an ancient Ethiopian language or Eritrean language, right? Ancient. That's not the language they speak right now. Now they speak Amharic or Tigrinya, right? They spoke in Giz. You understand? Writing in a different language just to be safe from the Muslims for not persecuting you for your material. Subhanallah, ya jama'ah. Even in the Quran, it says in Surah Nisa 24, it says about sex slaves. So don't think all these actions are like, how do I say this to you? And not advocated by Islam. Even when Khalid bin Walid was persecuting the people, right? Muhammad, he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. He was just okay with it. Like he didn't say a single word. Now, if you're gonna say, oh, it's his action, not his action, well, why he didn't say anything? Why he didn't condemn him for this behavior? Right? Right? For the Philos of Edessa, Thomas of Persita. It's so funny how you're gonna quote Thomas of Persita when you're not even describing what he said. He describes the Arab conquest to be so violent that they had to, at some point, even persecute the monks. Where you guys say in your own fuck that you're not allowed to do that. Not allowed to do that, right? I'm giving you the first 300 years. I'm not even giving you I'm not even going deep into this, right? I'll go for example where he says, Abdullah, where he persecuted and said they used to eat Copts alive for his own enjoyment. Like for example, I don't know why this is surprising to you, to be honest with you, Habibi Yaqub, when this is in fact something that your Prophet himself did. Like for example, when he did the 90 wars of all battles, like the raid of Naqla, the battle of Badr, the battle of Hudud, the Nadir of Tribe, all these raids and all this, those are like, I don't know why you're surprised about this. The Prophet literally participated in 90 wars. And I'm willing to give you every source for everything, right? Ibn Ishaq recorded this. But the Muslims don't read the Sirah, Jama'ah. The Muslims don't read the Sirah Nabawiyyah, the biography of the Prophet, right? It's going to say to me, why didn't I address this, why didn't I address this? The first 200 years of Christianity was all just martyrdom. Okay? So for example, even as well, now I want to know, my question to you is why, if Islam preaches peace and says non-compulsion religion, why did you guys, in the Quran it says in Surah Al-Tawbah 5 and Surah Tawbah 29 about persecuting the Christian and Jews and unaliving polytheists? Where's the love, guys? Where's the coexistence? According to the Fuqahat, it says if a Muslim unalives a non-Muslim, they should not be, even according to the authentic hadith, it says there should not be thing. Even no Muslim should be punished for the death of killing a kafir. The Prophet threatens to burn the houses of people of not going to pray in the mosque. The Prophet threatens to burn the houses. So the Prophet wasn't tolerant himself. So I don't know why Yaqub is surprised.
All right, I gave you that extra 5 seconds, by the way. Thank you so much for that rebuttal. We will be moving on to our next rebuttal period. So, Eminem.
Can I just say one word as well? Can I just say one word? He also said, just like only to 10 seconds, he also said that I only quoted historians in the 14th, the 15th, and 12th, and 13th history.
I'll give you a whole extra minute.
And actually, what I actually quoted, I said Ibn Ishaq, Ibn al-Waqidi, Ibn al-Wahiduri, Hasham ibn Qalbi, Ibn Sa'ad, Abu Miqnaf, Sa'id ibn Umar, all these are in the 8th and 9th century, right? Al-Tabari, Ibn Hasham, Muhammad ibn Sa'ad al-Kalbi. You didn't quote any of those people. Those are all what? Those are Muslim historians, right? And those are Christian historians. I give you 9 Christian historians. I give you 3 Persian historians. I give you 3 Byzantine historians. And you know Byzantine to me are not Christians. So I don't know why you quoted them. You know this. Now, call me a takfir Coptic, call me whatever you want to call me, right? You know this. I don't know why you keep bringing this up. Stop bringing it from a point. Like I told you, the Crusades did aid Muslim babies. I told you this. I admit this, right? But what I'm saying here, I'm going to say this again. The first 200 years of Islam. Stop saying from an overview of Islamic history, an overview of Christian history. Stop going off topic.
Okay, thank you very much. That was an extra 55 seconds that Coptic had. Guys, just a quick reminder. Let's stick to the timing that's provided and not diverge from that. That was an exception, but I will not grant that exception again.
No.
So if your time is over, your time is over. Thank you, Sultan, for your generosity. All right, we will be moving on to our next rebuttal period. We will have a rebuttal from Eminem, and then we will have a final rebuttal from Coptic. After that, we will move on to the cross exam. Eminem, whenever you're ready, I'll start your time.
Okay, number 1, I never said Christianity is forceful and violent. What I said it was deceptive. I'm gonna say it again. I didn't say Christianity is forceful and violent. I said it's deceptive. And I brought you how your own churches admit that you fabricate, how you lie, how you're a deceiver. And I showed you from your own scriptures, which I do take to be historical writings to some extent. Yes, I do. I don't have a problem saying that. Even scholars say that. Secular scholars say that. Christian scholars say that. Like the letter Galatians to the Romans and whatnot. They admit that Paul was being a liar. He shows one face to the disciples and then he shows another face to the Gentiles. You didn't address all of that deception. I said Christianity spread through deception. You didn't address any of those verses. I gave you many and I justified it and I showed how Peter was following the law. That's the first. You said, oh, these modern scholars don't have weight on you, but then you gave me a moron like Ibrahim Raymond. So just don't shoot yourself in the foot next time. Then you said we're talking about the first 200 years. Yeah, Sherlock, I'm quite aware. That's kind of the sources I brought, and I gave you the dates of them, unlike you who gave me Michael the Syrian, who's 12th century, which I frankly don't care about. I don't care about what a man from 500 years later has to say. I really don't. Then you said Amr ibn As asked the saint to pray for him or something like that. And then you read it from a book that has no citation. I looked at it before. And then, keep flipping through it. Good luck. No problem. If you're gonna bring me the patriarchs, right, the Alexandria patriarchs, the history of the patriarchs of Alexandria, the earliest copy you got.
Can I respond?
Started around 11.
One second, Sultan. One sec. Let's just.
I'm allowed to because I wanna.
Coptic. Guys, don't mute anybody on panel. I'll do that. Anybody, you guys just focus on the comments. Coptic, unmute yourself quickly. Okay.
I want to respond to.
No, just wait. Another reminder. Okay, so you had your 10-minute rebuttal, and he's gonna have his 10-minute rebuttal. You have a rebuttal after him to address all his points, but please, no interruptions. This is the second time you interrupt.
Okay, my question would be like before we start, obviously.
What's your question?
Is when can I address like his points? Like
after you see this time, after his rebuttal time, 8 minutes left. You're gonna have 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Can you give him one more minute? Can you repeat that again?
No.
It's fine. He's okay. Just
Okay.
please no interruptions. Okay. Thank you, guys. I just want to be very clear. Both sides, no interruptions until the other person's time is finished. All right. Whenever you're ready, Sultan, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Then this individual does ta'an. He tries to like discredit the Sahaba like Amr ibn As, okay, or Ubayd ibn Jarrah, Umar ibn Khattab. But then I gave him Christians themselves from non-Muslim sources confessing that. I gave him Gabriel of Qartamin, who met with Umar ibn Khattab. Umar ibn Khattab didn't tell him, go pay jizya, get the hell out, or convert. That wasn't there when I gave you the source, and it dated from 639. Okay, 639. This is maybe 5 years before Umar ibn Khattab passed away. If I'm not mistaken, it was 644 or 648. Then with Amr ibn As, I gave you your own Yuhanna al-Nuqyusi liking him. So it's either your own bishop is contradicting himself, or he's saying exactly what I want him to say. Then you're using the history of the patriarchs, and the source actually comes from the 12th century, the 1100s, which I don't, again, care about. Then you brought up Thomas the Presbyter. I didn't quote him. I actually didn't. I just said that you brought him up, and he's not really reliable. Nobody takes him seriously. He actually has only one passage on Islam. He only has one passage on Islam. That's all he has. And he talks about when the Muslims conquered, and then he gives his own little propaganda. How do I know it's propaganda? Because he's a pathological liar. Do you want somebody who thinks that? Go look at Orientalists, non-Muslims who say that, like Robert G. Hoyland, like John V. Tolan, like Norman Daniel, like Hugh Kennedy, the same guy that you quoted, like Fred Donner as well. I'm not the guy making these people up. I'm not paying them. I don't know why you're using the Quran, telling me it allows this, it allows that. Whether it allows it or not does not tell me what the Muslims actually did, like actually historically. Then you talk about fiqh, that doesn't really have an impact. I didn't bring up the Crusades. Maybe you're looking at the comments too much. Then you mentioned Hisham al-Kalbi. Hisham al-Kalbi is good when it comes to genealogy, okay? That's what he's good at. When you go look at what the ulama say about him as a historian, he's good at genealogy in Arabian lore, not general Muslim history. The same way Ibn Ishaq, which you mentioned, you look at the ulama, like Ahmed bin Hanbal, Imam Malik, they praise him when it comes to his seerah, not when it comes to genealogy. And then for Al-Waqidi, they praise him when it comes to tarikh and not when it comes to hadith. Each person had their specialty. Stop mishmashing people together. Then you brought me in At-Tabari. At-Tabari is 100 years after the year 800, Habibi. So he's in the year 900. 200 years from Islam, from 632 to 200 onwards, that would be what? 832. Tabari's after that. So I don't care. You didn't really speak of anybody. All you do, which shows me you don't know a lot. It shows me you don't know a lot. You said the first 200 years of Islam, but you're not attacking anybody except actually the first 15 years. The first 15 years is all you have. It's Amr ibn As, Umar ibn Khattab, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amr ibn As, Umar ibn Khattab, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're not talking about Harun al-Rashid. You're not talking about Ma'mar al-Rashid. You're not talking about Abdul Malik bin Marwan. You're not talking about like even freaking kuffar Mu'tazila, like Al-Muntasir Billah or Al-Ma'mun. You're not talking about the people earlier, okay, who founded like the Abbasid Caliphate. You're not talking about Umar ibn Abd Aziz. These people don't come to you. You're not talking about Uthman. You're not talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib. You're not even talking about Yazid. You're not even talking about Yazid, who was more on the rough side. You didn't even bring up Al-Hajjaj bin Yousif, who was very bloodthirsty. And some people even takfir him. You didn't even bring anybody like that. It shows me you only know these things. Look, I never said Islam doesn't have conquests. I have no problem with that. Okay? What I have a problem with is tadlis, pretending like they started being bloodthirsty. You're bringing me these little small hadith and nitpicking them and chipping them, and then I'm giving you a hadith back, and all you can do is what you're doing is you're ignoring everything I'm giving, and then you're putting everything you think you have. I gave you how he taught people. I gave you how people used to love him, how he was kind, how he was gentle, how he taught people, how he educated them, how he emphasized knowledge, how he went ahead and provided for trade, how he set up schools. All of that escaped your mind. Right? Because, this is exactly what it means to spread by the sword. Spread by the sword means you set up an education system. You try to make the literacy rate higher. Oh, something that you guys didn't do. and we saved the Jews. Haha, you did not. You couldn't do that when they were being persecuted 30,000. You're mentioning your persecution, even though I know that some of you got persecuted. That's actually something I already addressed. All of you claim that you got persecuted. All of you claim you got persecuted. When you look at the sources of Christian persecution, all of you claim it was us who were in that specific sentence. It's not the Coptics, it's the Eastern-Orthodox. It's not the Eastern-Orthodox, it's the Oriental Orthodox. It's not the Oriental, it's the Greek. It's not the Greek, it's the Roman Catholic. Every single Christian claims he's the one that is found in the passages of Josephus. He's the one that's found in the passages of Tacitus. How the hell am I supposed to know? Allahu A'lam. Source, trust me, bro. That's how we go with it. I really don't have anything else much to say. Look, ya Ikhwan, I'm just go over something to show you like the reality of the Muslims and how socially aware they were and how humanistic they were actually. You want to talk about the first 200 years, he's sticking just to the first 15. Look at how Al-Qadi Abu Yousif, he wanted to talk about fuqaha. I'm going to use the fuqaha from a historical perspective. Al-Qadi Abu Yousif was the disciple of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. He was the disciple, the student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. And Harun al-Rashid, who was a Khalifa, he asked him to write him a treatise of how should we tax Jews and Christians? How should we tax them? So let's see a real life application from a first-hand witness, Al-Qadi Abu Yousif himself, writing it in his own book, Kitab al-Kharaj. This was published by Dar al-Ma'rifah in 1979. This is page 124 to 125. Look how cheap this is. And remember, this was back when the currency was way stronger. He says to Harun al-Rashid, the Khalifa, rahimahullah, 48 dirhams upon the rich, 24 dirhams from the middle class, and 12 dirhams from the people who work hard labor. Meaning 1,548 for the rich, $774 for the middle class, and a mere $387 for the lower class per year. In America, you pay 25% of your daily tax, of your daily check. Every single time you get a check, you pay 25% of that immediately. It goes out. He continues, he says, the treasurers collect from them based on what I described, so none of them attempt to trespass what's been fairly paid off, nor take above what the jizya obliges them, nor intend to oppress them, and one ought, O King of the believers, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, to approach them with leniency, towards Ahl al-Dhimma, meaning Jews and Christians. Check on them personally. I'm not making this up. Abu Yousif is saying this. He said, check on them personally, ensuring that they're not being oppressed, nor harmed, nor overburdened beyond their capabilities, nor having their money taken except for what's rightfully owed. Now he's going to bring me Sha'ban wa Ramadan, qala this, qala that, Bukhari this, Bukhari that, Muslim, bang, 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 bang. He's going to keep shooting from different anecdotes. And then when you ask him to contextualize it, he has absolutely no clue. Look, can you please like attack another Sahabi? It's really getting boring. I love defending Ashab, especially the favorite ones of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's getting too repetitive. You're not giving me a Christian source that is contemporary. Oh, last thing. You keep bringing in John of Naqius. I only used him because you like him. I didn't use him because I like him. You said he's reliable. This guy, Yohanna, is writing in the year 700. He's writing in the year 700. And the earliest manuscript we have is from the 12th century in Ethiopic.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Sultan. Outstanding rebuttal.
Wait, just real quick. Somebody is like saying, "I'll step on the Holy Ghost." Can you block that kalb? Block that kalb.
Any Muslim who blasphemes any holy figure or holy symbol in either religion will not be tolerated. You will catch a mute, and if you do it again, you will catch a block from the live. Again, this is a fair, moderated platform, and this will not be acceptable from each side. Now let's move on to the final rebuttal by Yousef. Yousef, whenever you are ready, I will start your time.
Okay. It's so funny to me. Okay, let's address every single point, okay? Amr said pray for him to the Pope, right? But when he said that, it's so funny. He's expecting the Muslim sources to say this. Like, why are you expecting the Muslim sources to admit something. For example, the Muslim leader, converted to Christianity when the Copts moved the mountain, Al-Jabal al-Muqattam, right? But you're not going to believe that, obviously. You're not going to believe Coptic Christians moving the mountains. You're not going to believe, the Pope converting. So I'm going to ask you now. Now you have 20 historical accounts, 20. And you only have a few Muslims. Now my question to you is, who are you going to believe? The 20 historical accounts from the Coptic Christians who lived that time? Or are you going to believe some Muslims who didn't even live there? Bulus ibn Araja, by the way guys, is a sheikh in Islam who became a Christian. Bulus ibn Araja, right? Very, very famous in Egypt, apostate, who attacked Islam every single day, just attacked. He's now a Coptic bishop, right? And then became a Coptic bishop. He was attacking Islam non-stop, just attacking it from a theology, attacking his Aqidah. That's why now there is this thing called the Ashari Aqidah, because now he thought that the Athar Aqidah made no sense. But anyway, we're going off topic now. Now when I come to the Quran verses, right? I was only trying to say that these actions were advocated in the Quran. I wasn't saying this and that and that. And by the way, guys, I think the debate is over. You know why it's over? He just conceded that Christianity wasn't spread by the sword. خلص على كده يا جماعة. خلص على كده. He just conceded that Christianity wasn't spread by the sword. That was the whole debate. Was Christianity spread by the sword? Between Islam and Christianity the first 200 years. He said no. He said it was spread by deception. Now, that doesn't really matter because the point is by the sword. Islam was spread by the sword. He's saying it was conquest. Now my question is, Arabia was conquered, in a span like this, right? Where Islam spread from Minor Asia all the way to West India, right? Now, also, he considered the sword, so that all of you guys remember this. He considered, that's the point. He said, you're picking and choosing that even your Arab leader converted to Christianity. Now, look where it is. I don't really care about your opinion, to be honest, or your Muslim scholars. Now, I want you to quote me a scholar. You said about the fuqahat and the jizya, the tax, right? 1, 2, 3. I know this. No one is talking about this. Now, I challenge you, Yaqub, and I want you to address this, please, now. In the following... it's when, what is it called in English? When you respond to me, right? I want you to respond to me and tell me, according to the fuqahat, Abu Hanifa, right? Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, right? Imam Shafi'i, what did they say about the jizya? What did they say about the jizya? Did they say it was just a tax? Or did they say it's a humiliation tax that they should do it while their neck is like this? Even we spare them and we chop them and we cut them. No problem. When we say spread by the sword, we don't mean you guys unalive. I literally told you that Islam doesn't teach to unalive the Christians. I told you this. Islam, look, I'll say it again. Islam doesn't teach to unalive the Christians and Jews. It doesn't teach that. Because we're people of the book. What you teach is we are humiliated and persecuted for our faith. That's it. So for example, when you see me on the street, pooh, oh, you're a Christian. That's all. Right? Or even like start slapping us or even like stuff like that. And the Quran says if you kill the Muslims like you killed all mankind. This is only applies to Muslims. Doesn't apply to, doesn't apply to Christians. You can unalive a Christian but we're going off topic now, right? So my point here is I'm trying to say that tax is a humiliation tax, and rather it's to make this. Now he said that there's no historical evidence that Christianity was persecuted, or there is very much is, right? For example, Christianity was persecuted in Rome, Christianity was persecuted in Alexandria, in Antioch, Trajan, right? Trajan established a policy that the Christians should not be actively sought out to be punished and accused, refused to renounce their faith. Any person, Christian, who became a Christian should be put to death. How crazy is that? Right? Now, are you going to say to me, now the difference is, Habibi, this is better. Why it's better? Because our Lord said, do not be afraid for those who attack the body, but be afraid for those who attack the spirit and the body. You see now, if you use your logic, I can say that I'd rather live under Rome, where they would just unalive us straight away without persecuting us and without putting us subject into torture and making us renounce our faith, rather than just be martyred for our faith and be shaheed, right? Shuhadat. Right? That's how it is. Right? Now, in Egypt, I don't know if you know this, the Christians of Egypt use the ankh, the key of life, as to represent the cross. Okay? Even, for example, Nero, Valerian, Decius, all those were persecuting the Christians. Right? Even Diocletian, who persecuted 3 million Coptic Christians. Right? Jailed, killed, like... Now, I want to know why you don't bring this stuff. Okay? Now, I said I keep saying historians, but I don't know why you're not addressing them. Ibn Ishaq, Al-Waqidi, Al-Baladuri, Ibn Hasham al-Kalbi, right? The all Abu Miqnaf. Now you said I only take his genealogy and I don't take his history. Do I care? Is this something I care? I don't care what you take for and what you don't take for. That's like saying I take Imam now, not for Aqidah, but I take him for, what do you call it, for fiqh. I don't care. How is this relevant to me? Or why does this be on me? The point here that you have to address is why did they say that Islam was spread by the sword and they didn't shy away from it? You say, Imam Ibrahim, you said, and it's so funny to me because most Islamic people, scholars who speak about Islamic conquest are Coptic historians. Coptic historians. Right? How fun is that? Even, for example, Sword and Smith. I don't know if you read that book by Ibrahim, or the book by what's his name? By Dr. Ibrahim Ayman, right? In his expeditions or how the Islamic conquest. Actually, guys, Shuyukh actually advocate for people to read this book. Shuyukh actually advocate for this book, right? Now, he quotes early historians. He gives you primary sources. Stop discrediting people when they give primary sources. You can only discredit someone when they give secondary sources or they make up stuff. Now, when I quote them crazy or I quote any historian, they call it primary sources. So I don't say right. Now, can he please, I'm keep asking you, okay? You keep saying I can't contextualize. Yes, I can. Can you now tell me, why did the Prophet say this? When you meet your enemies, now we're going to use Muhammad as the prime example of humanity, right? Because you guys call him Sayyid al-Bashar. You guys understand in Islam what does it mean to be Sayyid al-Bashar? Sayyid al-Bashar means Isa alayhi salam, according to them, should be under his feet, right? He's Sayyid al-Bashar. He's Sayyid al-Bashar, which means he's the top of mankind. Like no one is like Prophet Muhammad. No one in the world, on the planet, of the face of the earth is like this Prophet. Everyone should imitate like this Prophet. We should all marry children. We should all marry this. We should all analyze this. We should all be like the Prophet. We must be like the Prophet. How do we know this? Because what he does is sunnah, and what is like, if you don't do it, it's makruh, is disliked by Allah, or what is supposed to happen is fard, right? All this is by the Prophet himself. Right? This is why we all should be like the Prophet. How fun is that? Sahih Muslim, book 19, number 494. I want you to explain this verse, please. I really want you to explain this verses. Why ayat is safe? It says in Surah At-Tawbah to unalive polytheists. Where's the coexistence? Now, if me as a Muslim read where it says unalive polytheists, I'll go unalive a polytheist. Like I will go persecute the Christian Jews. Now look at this, ready? And Sahih Muslim says that when you meet your polytheist, right? It says, if they refuse to accept Islam, demand from them the jizya. If they agree to pay, I want you to address this. If they agree to pay, accept it from them and hold it off your hands. If they refuse to pay the tax, seek Allah's help and fight them. Fight them in the way of Allah and His Messenger. Why? Where's the love? Now, can you tell me why when your Prophet attacked Khaybar, I'm just using the prime example. Jesus said, love your enemies. He didn't unalive anyone. Why did your Prophet unalive people? Had to unalive apostates. He had to unalive all this. I don't understand. Why he had to marry all these children? All his wives were the age of 9 to 17, 16. Like, if we're going to use them as prime example. I'm just saying, if we're going to use them as a prime example to see whether Islam was spread by the sword or not, let's use the moral example, Muhammad, the Prophet of humanity, I guess, or the prime example, right? Why did he unalive the family of Safi bin Tuhayya, the father, the brother, the husband, and also he had to rape it on the same night, RPE, and take all the women as captives. All the women we use as sex slaves. I want to know why the women we use as toys. Why are you not addressing any of these points? I don't understand. Khaybar was an offensive jihad, right? I'm not speaking about Banu Qurayza. I'm speaking about this. Banu Qurayza, he had to unalive kids because they had pubes. Unalive kids because they had pubes. Subhanallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What is this? Okay, so now here's what the Prophet did, right? He said, I've been victorious with terror. He testifies to being victorious. The Prophet said he was ordered to fight people until they become Muslims, and not because they fight against him, but because they don't believe in Allah and they're not Muslims. That's in Sahih Bukhari. It said that the paradise is under the shades of swords. It says that Islam was spread by the sword. The Prophet said, I want you to die in the war. I don't want you to leave. He said, if you die, I will give you shelter. So the Prophet was guaranteeing his followers, the Sahaba, I will give you everything. Now, I want to know why the Prophet, didn't unalive anyone for unaliving a kafir. That's why, guys, there's no Christian and Jews in the Arab Peninsula. Right? That's why there is no polytheists in the Arab Peninsula, because they had no choice. Either they be put to sword or they had to do this. Now, I agree with you, the military conquest wasn't just unaliving with the sword. The sword means they were forced into Islam and they had no choice. Either pay jizya or do this. Right? Why should the Prophet do all this? Can you tell us?
Coptic, your mic was a little bit messed up at the end. You want to repeat that last sentence you made?
I want to know how he's going to justify all the killings of the Prophet when the Sahaba saw it. That's my question. And I want to address the stuff I gave you that were revealed after, what do you call it? After Mecca was conquered in Medina.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That concludes our rebuttal period. I appreciate both parties for staying cordial and following the debate guidelines. We have reached our cross-exam period. Sultan will go first. It will be 12 minutes each. I just want to remind you of the rules for the cross-exam. So the crossfire period will be question and answer. So for example, it will be Sultan's time. So he will ask a question. Coptic will be required to give a direct answer that is not reasonably, that is not long, that is reasonable, right? So don't take 2 minutes to answer, 3 minutes to answer. Keep it within 30 to 45 seconds. Now, if this gets out of hand and you guys are not able to have a question and response in a reasonable manner, I will have to time your responses. So we will start off by not having any timed responses. Remember, your responses should be between 30 to 45 seconds. Straight dichotomy questions must be answered with a yes or a no, and then you may expand after. So both Coptic and Sultan, if your questioner asks you a yes or no question, you're required to answer. You are required to answer yes or no. Is that understood by both parties?
Yeah.
Understood, yes.
Okay, perfect. So remember, guys, it will be a continuous 12 minutes. That's including the answers. I will not be pausing the time for the answers. Is that understood?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. We will get Sultan. You may start asking. 1 second. Let me just actually edit the time here from 10 to 12. Okay. All right. Okay. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
According to, according to Eusebius, Origen, Jerome, second and third John was not written by John himself. Is that a type of deceit?
That's relevant. We're speaking about how Islam
I
is
have
spread
a
by the
follow-up
sword.
question to it. Don't worry about that. Is that a type of deceit?
Yeah, but we're speaking about how it was spread by the sword.
No, that's not what the title is. It's just talking.
No, it is.
It's just talking about how it was spread in general.
Spread of Islam against Christianity.
Yeah, it doesn't mention sword. There is no specific
No,
methodology.
it does.
I paused the time. 1 second. I just want to repeat.
Can someone say the topic again?
One sec, Coptic. 1 second. The topic is on my screen. The spread of Islam versus the spread of Christianity. Coptic, remember, and both Sultan, remember, when a question is asked, you must answer with if it's a straight dichotomy question, meaning a yes or no, the answer must be either yes and then expand for 30 to 45 seconds, or no and then expand for 30 to 45 seconds if it is needed. So Coptic, if he asks you a question, please respond with a yes or no. Let me determine if something is on topic or off topic. That is my job as the moderator and not Sultan's job or your job. So please, we will restart. Please question and answer, or we're going to have to time the answers, and that's going to take too long and it'll be a headache. So please, let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it continuous. I'm sure we could do that as mature adults. Whenever you're ready, Sultan, go ahead.
Okay. According to Origen, Eusebius, and Jerome, second and third epistle of John are a bunch of doubtful fabrications. Now, is promoting that to the church or to promulgate the gospel a type of deceit? Yes or no?
That's relevant. That's shifting the goalpost fallacy.
Okay. Coptic, you must answer with a yes or no, and then you must expand. again, I'm not. I don't want to repeat myself. I'm gonna have to reset the time.
But it's off topic, guys. It's off topic.
Coptic.
If you want me to answer, okay, I can answer.
Okay,
No, it's not a
wait, Coptic.
reputation.
Wait, you can end. Let me reset the time again. Coptic. He says he has a follow-up question that's on topic. I'm the moderator. So if I see that it is off topic, I will call him out and tell him that it's off topic. And same for you. If you ask him a question off topic, I will make it known that it's off topic. But please, if I don't interject, please just answer the question with yes or no and then expand. Again, we're gonna be here all night if you guys don't listen to the rules. All right, whenever you're ready, Sultan, ask your question one more time.
Okay, according to Jerome, Eusebius, and Origin of Alexandria, they denounce second and third epistle of John as a fabrication. Now, is promoting that whilst you are preaching the gospel as a Christian a type of deception?
Yes, it is a deception, yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. So on that basis, can one say that Christianity is spread by deception?
Can one say that Christianity was spread by deception?
Based on that specific premise?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay, thank you. I actually really do appreciate it.
But even if that's the case, I just want to clarify a bit more. But because you didn't refute the Gospels and you're referring to epistle, I can just say I can reject every single epistle, all the New Testament, and just leave the full Gospels, and then you could make the claim that it wasn't spread by deception. So now my position would be that it didn't spread by deception, even if I grant you for the sake of the argument.
That's perfectly fine. The reality is history.
Please,
and they ended up doing it regardless. So whether you want to denounce it or not doesn't really matter. So Christianity was spread by deception in some certain sense. Okay, do you admit that?
No, I didn't say this. I said no, it didn't.
Coptic, this is not a conversation time. This is question and answer. Please go ahead, Sultan, if you have a question.
Okay, no issue, no problem. I'll take your word. Okay, so because of the fact that you had absolutely no political authority, is it true that for about maybe, let's just say 70 years, you peacefully watched maybe 30,000+ Jews just get executed and you sat there doing nothing about it as Christians?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is it true now with the reverse that when we Muslims actually have political control, we didn't have to have the Jews go through the same thing again twice? We actually ended up protecting them per their own confession.
But you guys had political control. Yes, it's true, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. We had political control. But we ended up saving them because of that political control. Do you agree?
I agree, yes.
Okay, so pacifism is stupid. There we go. Okay, so is one of the methodologies that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ spread Islam was education?
What do you mean by education? Can you clarify?
Teaching them the Quran, teaching them how to read and write.
Yeah, I mean, the Prophet asked the Jews 3 questions, and they said they didn't take him as a prophet. They called him a post-prophet many times.
Talking about the Sahaba.
Oh, the Sahaba. Yeah, Abu Safwan adopted his prophethood, who is of the Sahaba. He said that I doubt you're a prophet. He said, if you don't testify Allah is God and Muhammad is messenger, I will chop your neck.
I don't know what that has to do with the question, but okay, no problem. So for the first, let's just say 11 years of his life, did he ever raise a sword against anyone?
The first, can you repeat that again?
For the first 11 years of his ministry, did he ever raise a sword against anyone?
No.
Correct. Why did he tolerate them so much?
Oh, why did he tolerate them so much? Because he made, for example, that time as Bab Nuzul for the ayah, for example, 27:11 in the Quran, where it says, your God, my God, are one. In the Quran, it says that no compulsion religion. All the ayat that preach coexistence and I guess where we can both have peace were revealed after Mecca was conquered. Conquered. That's when all the ayat of Ayat al-Sayf and Surah al-Tawbah and Surah al-Baqarah they came. Yeah, revealed. Sorry.
Awesome. So during that time period,
and I just want to clarify a bit more so then everyone can understand. And as we all know, he was saying that he was a prophet to the Jews and the Jews didn't believe him and treated him, and they were even persecuted. I can admit you,
the Muslims were persecuted by the Arab Quraysh tribes. Like a lot of Christians.
Yousef, that's going like a bit
Okay,
beyond it.
Yousef, I muted the time because they keep gifting you this weird gift that makes your mic sound bad. Repeat the last 10 seconds of what you said.
Oh, it's the gift?
Yeah. Just repeat.
I was wondering what's wrong with my
Yeah, so
phone. Okay.
the time is paused. Just repeat the last 10 seconds and I'll restart the time. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I was saying is that when he was like, you could say, quote unquote, weak, right? He couldn't do anything in Medina or Mecca, and
They can steal it by the crucified. By the crucified. He just found something.
When they gift you that, you could stop talking until it stops. Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so what I was saying is when the Prophet had no power, or I guess weak, quote unquote, right? He didn't really do much. So instead what he did, he was trying to preach, and the people of the book and us were all one, right? Muslims and Christians, it's as if they worship the same God. That's why he said,
My God, your God, we're both one. This one, after Mecca was conquered, they're going crazy.
so when he said, oh, sorry, I spoke. My apologies. I didn't see the
You
gift.
can keep going. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so when he said this, why when he said, if I get one Jew,
I
now
think like the answer is becoming way too long-winded, to be honest.
No, I'm just telling you.
It's
you.
okay.
Like,
The
what
time is paused. Just
Yeah,
try to
but
finish
it's
up.
like beyond answering the question. It's not even related anymore.
Yeah, Coptic. Just try to finish up in 10 seconds, inshallah. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is very simple, right? They didn't believe him at first, and then after they, what do you call it? He felt angry from the Jews, how they treated him and how the Quraysh was treating him. So what he did then, he started, I guess, persecuting everyone else after they were
Fantastic.
conquered.
Thank you. Okay, we'll restart the time. Sultan, when you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, cool, yo. So by the aid of the Holy Spirit and all your preaching, there, according to David Sim, who is a Catholic theologian, he concluded based on the historiographical sources that he had at hand, only a total of about max 1,000 Christians were converted at the end of the year 100. Okay, awesome. So you essentially mocked something regarding that because, you know, you guys were peaceful, you had success. Nobody wanted to accept Muhammad according to you because, what do you call it? He was forcing on everybody and no Jew would ever want to convert to him. What do you make of the fact that at the Prophet's deathbed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was 100,000 Muslims at that time who converted? In total, after his whole journey, there was 100,000 Muslims in total. What's the explanation for that?
Okay, so beautiful. I really like this question. Okay, so first of all, what I want to say,
First of all,
Okay, stop. The person who's given this gift, I'm gonna block you the next time you do it. The next time this gift is given, I'm gonna block you because you guys are disturbing the debate at this point. Mods, the next person that gives this gift specifically, block them off the live. Okay, we're gonna add an extra 10 seconds to the time, so just keep that in mind. All right, go ahead, copy the answer.
okay, so he said that according to David Sims, when Christianity was spread, like in the first century, not even 1,000 people converted. That's really funny. The Gospels speak, and the Book of Acts, they say one sermon, 5,000 people converted. Jesus himself, one sermon, converted 4,000 people. Do you guys understand this? 5,000 people, 8,000, 16,000, 12,000 in one sermon. One sermon. Your prophet could never do that. And this is why I doubt his prophethood. Now, you said why on his deathbed. Can you say, please, Yaqub, why he said on his deathbed? Please, tell us.
There's no questions.
The question's not to me, and that's not related.
Okay.
Even if the question was to me, that's completely unrelated. Okay, anyhow. So, Coptic, I gave you about, let's just count together. I gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 different non-Muslim sources. I have yet to quote a Muslim source to support my side. What do you make of 21 Christian sources from a multiplicity of different denominations that are all contemporary during that time period, for the most part, of course, constantly saying they love the Muslims, they want the Muslims to rule, the Muslims are doing better, they are willingly converting, they are getting married to Muslim men, they're having children with them. Do you deny all of these Coptic, Syriac, Gregorian, Armenian, and Greek testimonies or not? What do you make of them?
Okay, that's beautiful. First of all, so I would say that I don't deny them. But how do we know they're reliable? For example, John of Nicaeus, unless you can show me that it's scholarship or consensus that this is the right.
Okay, pause. Block that person off the live. Was it Layla? Somebody block Layla off the live now. And any other account that they join with, block them off the live. This is unacceptable. All right. Sultan, I want you to restate your question quick because, when this happens, it just takes off the attention and people forget. So restate your question, Sultan. The time is paused, and just in a quick manner. And Coptic answer, try to keep it between 30 to 45 seconds at the most. Go ahead.
By the way, it's still Abdelaziz.
Sorry?
It's Abdelaziz. He's just constantly spamming it if you want to kick him.
Oh, okay. If Abdelaziz does it one more time, guys, get him off too. Okay, Sultan, restate your question in a quick manner.
Okay. Yeah. So I gave about 20 or so non-Muslim sources. All of them are from the 1st century Hijri, meaning the 7th century, okay, since the advent of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they all testify to the fact that they love Muslims, they want Muslims to rule, Muslims are good, Muslims are just, they're treating them well, they're putting them in education, they're putting them in political positions, such as being a tax collector, being a secretary. What do you make of all these testimonies?
Beautiful. So all I just need, he just told me which person and told me the quote exactly. Because all of them, I think you just quoted, in their own book, they say how violent Islam was. Whether Islam was violent at sometimes and not violent sometimes, I would agree with this, yes. For example, the Coptic Christians testify that under Amr ibn As, there wasn't much persecution, right? We agree with this. I don't think any Coptic disagrees. There wasn't much persecution. Actually, he was very tolerant of Coptic Christians. And he didn't ask much jizya. But then after, some caliphates were harsher, some caliphates were not harsher. It's okay. Now, if you're going to tell me at the entrance they were peaceful, I don't believe you. And I want you to substantiate your claim.
Okay, no, I think we agree. Like, that's the first time we agree on something. That's cool sauce. Okay, cool, yo. Based on the statement I've read from Al-Qadi Abu Yousif, rahimahullah, does that seem like the Muslims are trying to overtax and burden the non-Muslims and Jews? Or is he saying that you should check up on them, be gentle, and keep the tax low?
So now, what the Yousif al-Qadr, which you mentioned, I think I've read one of his works. Now my question would be, I don't care what he says, I want what the fuqaha say, because that's where you get your jurisprudence in Islamic law.
He's a faqih. Well, okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. Next question. So, what do you make of the fact that we have absolutely no primary source regarding Christianity being present at Alexandria?
Actually, we do. You want me to quote you some?
No, I don't need the quote. I just need the name of the source and then the date.
Okay, Dr. Junkman. So here, I can read it
That's
to
a
you.
contemporary scholar. I asked for the primary source.
All primary source that Christianity existed is the death of the martyrs.
Okay, cool.
It's Coptic manuscripts at that time.
Coptic manuscripts at first century Christian, first century Alexandria.
Yeah, even they had to make the churches in caves for the persecution of the Romans.
What's this document called?
I can't remember. If you look up Coptic manuscripts testified persecution by the Romans, it will come up straight away. I can't remember.
It's not really helpful.
I wasn't prepared for this.
Since you had no political control, was your movement really successful in spreading Christianity, or were you a failure who had heresy creep in, and per the testimony of Herodias, that the Christians, or specific Coptics, were a bunch of magic, witchcraft-making, money-eating, warlords, let's just say?
Beautiful. So let's discuss this. I really like this question. So actually, no. Okay. So in Egypt, there was a lot of heretics like Arians and this. This is why Saint Athanasius, my Pope, the Coptic Orthodox Pope of Alexandria, was excommunicated. But what do you want to address exactly? What is the question? I don't understand.
My bad. I just want to correct myself. I meant to say Hadrian. Okay. Emperor Hadrian sent a letter to Servinus, talking about how if you visit Alexandria, you will find Christians literally worshiping a demigod. A demigod. Okay? And they are hungry for money. And they do witchcraft and magic. I'm saying that's an external source testifying to the nature of Christians, that they weren't trying to, quote unquote, spread the gospel. So I'm just asking, what do you make out of that source? Because it's within the first 200 years.
Okay, Coptic, please stay in frame the whole time. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting.
No worries. I paused the time, so let me know when you're ready to answer.
Yeah. 1 second. All right. Ready. Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question again, Yaqub, just one more time?
Okay, I'm gonna pause the time. You can repeat the question. Go
So
ahead.
the Emperor Hadrian sent a letter to what was his name? To Servinus, talking about how if you visit Alexandria in the year 200, which is literally the edge of the 2nd century, if you go visit it, you will find a bunch of Coptic Christians literally worshiping a Greco-Egyptian god, plus with Christ as well on the side. Okay, and they're doing it because they are hungry for money and they're doing magic. What do you make of that testimony that falsifies or doesn't falsify the fact that Christianity was spread, let's just say, successfully or with good intent?
Beautiful. So, how St. Mark preached, right, or how the apostles preached to Egypt, it was different than other countries. They preached by using the pharaonic, I guess, this idea of afterlife. And the idea of, what do you call it? I don't know if you know about neo-paganism of the Egyptians used to worship the god of Ta. That's why it's called Hakapta, right? That's why Egypt is called Kemet, right? It's good. So I do agree that there was a lot of heretics in Egypt. That's why Egypt was full of Aryans. People who used to believe the God the Son is subordinate to the Father. God forbid we teach something like this. God forbid. Right? The Bible says, Matthew 7:13, few will find it. I don't disagree. No problem. But majority were Coptic Orthodox Christians in the 4th century. Okay. So,
cool. Is there a consensus that Islam was, generally speaking, tolerant, and we're specifically talking in this context regarding the first 200 years based on the different scholars that I gave you so far?
Entrance, no. Sometimes in history, yes.
I said the first 200 years. Specifically, the first 200 years.
Yeah, the first 200 years of Islam, no. Entrance, no.
Cool. I don't think anybody's going to dispute entrance. They're always going to be shaky. All right, last question. Can you name me a singular person the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam forced to convert to Islam? I need their name and their last name. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam personally forced them to convert to Islam. Just name one person. One person.
Oh, forcefully convert to Islam?
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his own hands. One person.
With his own hands?
With his own hands. He forced them.
Yeah. What do you call it? So here we got in Sahih Muslim,
give the source.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay.
By the way, that was the last question. The time is up. I'm going to let Coptic answer, and we'll move on to the next phase of our cross-exam. So Coptic, go ahead and give an answer in the next 30 to 45 seconds. Make sure it's concise, and then we'll move on to your turn of the cross-exam.
So he used to honor Abu Sa'id, but then you don't want this. So then when Abu Sufyan doubted his prophethood, he said, if you do not testify that Allah is God and Muhammad is messenger, you will we will chop your neck.
Okay.
This is in the Sirah of Rasulullah. It's also in the Hadith. It's everywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much for that cross-exam. Thank you guys for respecting the rules and giving straight questions and concise answers. Greatly appreciated. Coptic, it is your turn of the cross-exam. You have 12 minutes. Again, I'm going to repeat the rules so both our interlocutors today understand. Coptic, you are to give the questions in the 12-minute period that you have. The time will be continuous, so we will not be pausing the time unless it is necessary to do so. Sultan, make sure the answers are concise within a reasonable 30 to 45-second period. Straight dichotomy questions, Sultan, are to be answered with a yes or a no, and then you may expound upon it in the next 30 to 45 seconds, as I mentioned. Whenever you're ready, Coptic, go ahead.
Okay. 1 second, sorry. 16. Okay. So my first question would be this. Why, after the Prophet was so tolerant all these years and teaching peace and coexistence, after he had the power with the two Arab pagan tribes of Medina, right? And they all had tribalism and they all were one. Why then the ayahs of the Sif, 80 Sif came? Surah Tawbah 5 and Surah Tawbah 29.
Well, I just deny the premise. I think he was always tolerant. Okay, that's why he had multiple different treaties with Banu Hashim. Who was the one who broke the treaty? They broke the treaty. That's why the whole war came out. And then with Bani Qurayza, why did Bani Qurayza happen? Because the war right previous to it, they ended up breaking the treaty. That's exactly what happened with Al-Aws wal-Khazraj as well. So I just deny the premise that he stopped being peaceful.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you deny the premise. Now I'm asking you why the Quran says in Surah Tawbah 5 to honor life polytheists. Is this not something that teaches in the Fuqahat? Is it not something that the Islam teaches in itself? Is this something that you guys don't deny? That's the question.
It says, fight those who have persecuted you. What, you want me to like kiss his butt or something? He's trying to unalive me.
No, that's...
No?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Am I confusing one ayah for another, just like last time?
No, Surah Tawbah 5, I'm asking you for the
Okay,
Surah
how about we check? How about we check it out? Give me a second.
like why this ayah was revealed, and this is something that Islam teaches. That's my question, guys. That's like a very simple question, I think.
I'm gonna have to meet you guys if you speak over the host. Guys,
Just give me the ayah again. Again.
Sultan, just
Surah Tawbah 5.
Sultan, just wait. No, we're not doing it. Okay. Time is paused. Remember, this is not.
We can't hear you, Habibi Orthodox Muslim.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, yes.
Okay, sorry. Guys, I was speaking the whole time. Guys, this is not a conversation. This is not a open dialogue. Remember, question, answer. The time is paused. Okay? This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to moderate the discussion. Sorry, I didn't know my sound was muffled. So we're not gonna do okay, show me, okay, where. It's question and answer. Coptic, I'm gonna let you repeat your question one more time. And you could, if you want big screen, if you want to show the verse, I could give it to you as well.
Yeah, big screen, please. Big screen.
Okay. All right. Please repeat your question in a timely manner. And Sultan, please answer in a timely manner as well. All right. Give me a moment. All right. Go ahead.
So the ayah I'm referring to is this. It's Surah Tawbah 5. Right? And Surah Tawbah 9:29. Okay? My question is very simple, guys. Very simple. Is this something that Islam teaches, and why was this ayah revealed? Right? Even be it, I don't even believe that the pagan Arabs broke the treaty. This is only from Islamic sources. There's no actual scholars that say this. Right? Even if that's the case, why is it justifiable for you to unalive the polytheist? And my question to you is this something that teach by the Fuqahat? Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, or the Hanafi school, the Hanbali school, or the Maliki school, or the Shafi'i school? Is this something that Islam teaches according to fiqh? Is it yes or no to unalive polytheist?
Okay.
Okay. You're asking like two different things. Which one is it?
Is this, does Islam teaches this, and why was this ayah revealed?
What is this? That's what I'm asking you.
Huh?
What is this?
The fact that you have to unalive polytheist.
As an
Because
obligation?
Huh?
As an obligation?
As an obligation تحت الحكم or caliphate.
No. No. No, that's not what it says. No,
Alright.
it says براءة من الله ورسوله إلى الذين عاهدتم من المشركين فسيحوا في الأرض 4 أشهر واعلموا أنكم غير معجز الله وأن الله مخزي الكافرين وآذان من الله ورسوله إلى الناس يوم الحج الأكبر. Look, the whole entire thing is talking about breaking treaties. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's not what I said.
So that was an answer. I'm gonna reset the time now. And Coptic, you may continue with your questions, and you guys continue with question and answer. All right, I'm gonna reset. Go ahead.
So my question to you, is this something taught in fiqh? That's the question. That you have to analyze the polytheists and the Christian Jews, they have to pay the jizya. That's a very simple question. And the question was...
I don't know what that means, like the first one. You have to unalive them, like just blanket?
What do you mean just blanket? Is it...
No, like just walk up to them and do it.
That's the criteria that have to be met. Here's the criteria that give. It's Sahih Muslim, it says, if they refuse to accept Islam, demand from them the jizya. If they agree to pay, accept them, hold off your hands. If they refuse to pay, fight in the way of Allah. That's the polytheists. So my question to you is this something taught in fiqh? In Islamic jurisprudence and law?
Yeah, it could be harb al-lisan or harb al-sayf. Yeah, if there is no jizya, if there is no treaty, if there is no peace from, and they're from Dar al-Harb, yeah. And I hope you heard that they're from Dar al-Harb.
Yeah. So,
okay, well, what am I supposed to do with Dar al-Harb? Of course.
No, I'm saying now, if an Islamic state is established, the polytheists, will they have the choice to leave or not?
Yeah, they can leave the country. That's exactly what Umar ibn Khattab literally did when he ended up conquering Palestine. You go to Tarikh al-Tabari, that same Tarikh al-Tabari that you mentioned, you go to volume 3 where he's talking about Sanat 17 Hijri. He talks about the 17th year of Hijri, and Amr ibn al-As struck a deal with him when he was talking about the patriarch, okay, of that time. And he essentially mentioned that whoever wants to leave can leave the country. We'll escort him. He can have his own safeguards if he's not a Christian nor a Jew. He mentions that in there. If you want the exact source, I can give it to you later.
Beautiful. Okay. And that's why the Yazidis didn't leave what do you call it? Because they're polytheists and the Christian Jews left. Or they convert to Islam because they're out of fear. Because they are not to do this. Okay. So, the second question I have is why the Prophet said, if one Jew believes in me, if 10 Jews believe me, all the Jews will believe him. Why the Jews didn't believe in him?
I don't even know what that means. You're asking me why didn't the Jews believe in Muhammad?
No, I'm asking you why did he say if only 10 Jews believe in me, all the Jews will have believed in me?
I don't know. I haven't looked into the hadith. What does that have to do with like conquest?
No, because that's when you're saying why was he tolerant. I'm saying this is why he was tolerant. So now we establish, that's why he said I will expel the Jews and Christians from the Arab Peninsula. You agree with me? So they can't be in the Arab Peninsula, yes or no?
Are you asking me like the same question or is this two different questions?
No, it's the same question. Are Christian and Jews allowed to be in the Arab Peninsula if Islam is so tolerant and peaceful?
What are you talking about, like today or back then?
Back then.
Yeah, you can. He set up like 5 treaties with the Jews and 3 treaties with the Christians.
No, I'm saying after Mecca was conquered. Please, I don't know why you keep saying before Islam, like a Jahiliyyah.
I didn't say before Islam. I asked you for clarification.
Yeah, I mean after Islam.
What does after Islam mean? Like 100 years later?
800 AD, for example, 700 AD.
700? In Medina and Mecca?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And all the heretics would be the Christians, right? The Christians who believe the subordinate monophysites, the historians, all there would be there. Yeah?
No, it's just not Muslims, any non-Muslim. It doesn't matter.
Okay, beautiful. Hell. Okay.
Yeah.
So, fourth question is, why are you so like hold to the fact that Islam was spread by the sword when it's by the consensus of the scholars?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
So by the scholars of the consensus, it's not even debatable that Islam was spread by the sword. It's not even debatable.
Coptic, I'm gonna pause your time again because they just did that to you again. So ask your question, and as soon as he starts answering, I'll restart the time. Go ahead.
Why all the fatawa and all the fuqaha and all the ulama, all of them, every single one of them until the 9th century, I don't care about the 9th century, said that Islam was spread by the sayf. Even he went as far as to say Islam spread by the means of proof and evidence of those who listen to the message and respond to it. It's spread by means and force and the sword of those who are stubborn and arrogant until they're overwhelmed and became no longer stubborn and submitted to the reality and Allah knows best. They rather choose monotheism than polytheism and Allah knows best.
So am I like allowed to ask where the hell he's reading from, or am I just gonna accept the precept?
Okay. So I'm gonna pause the time. If you want to ask for a reference or clarification, go ahead.
فقه الدعوة by سيد قطب. الفتاوى الجناء من الديمة.
I don't know what that is, to be quite frank with you. It doesn't sound like even a contemporary classical scholar. I don't know who that is.
It's an Islamic scholar, Sheikh in in Saudi Arabia, of the religious council of Asia. For example, Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah. I can say. You want Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah? I know, Yaqub, you love Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah.
Yeah, okay, but just 1 second. Regardless, my dispute was never that Islam had a military expeditious attitude. That's never been my dispute.
No,
my
I didn't. I said.
Yeah, split by the sword, military expedition, same thing.
Sword and force. Yes, that's the claim. So you concede.
Wait, hold on, dude. Like, just don't interrupt. I'm saying I've never claimed that Islam was not spread through military expeditions and conquests. My entire contention was not the way. What do you call it? That my entire contention was not the method, but it was the way they carried out the method. My contention is not Islam did not use swords, and it didn't use arrows, and it didn't use bows and spears and armors. Yes, it did. My contention is, did it shove it down everybody's throat? That's where I say no, and you're trying to say yes.
Was Islam spread by the sword, yes or no?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Okay, alhamdulillah, even Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah says that that religion should be for Allah alone, and the word of Allah should be supreme. The word of Allah is a comprehensive phrase.
Correct.
The first is word. Okay, all right. Now I'm happy with the answer. Now my question would be, why in Khaybar the Prophet had to unalive the father, the brother, and the husband, and used to take it on the same night, all the women there at Khaybar as sex slaves, and also the Safi bin Tuhiyya became Muslim out of fear on the same day, on the same night, he slept with her. Now please tell me, how do you justify this and how's not by the sword?
I just don't have to accept it.
Eh?
I just don't have to accept it, bro. Like, you're making a claim in your question.
But I can give you, what do you mean? I can give you all the sources.
You're making a claim in your question. I don't have to accept it.
I can give you all the sources. What do you mean?
Okay, yalla, go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the time. Coptic, can you restate the claim again?
The question is, why in Khaybar the Prophet had to unalive the father, the brother, the husband as well, right? All the women were taken as sex slaves, as sex toys, right, of Khaybar, and also that being said on the same night, the Sahaba was so scared that this happened, that she out of fear converted to Islam. Is Islam out of fear or is it out of love? Like, do I fear Allah or do I love Allah?
Okay.
The question here is, why would such case happen for him to convert to Islam? Why?
Okay. So, and what source did you want, Sultan? For which claim?
The whole entire, he came in, he started raping a bunch of women, and he took them as ex-slaves and what do you call it? Like, essentially this type of barbarism that he's trying to paint in somebody's head.
Coptic, are you able to show on hand the primary source for the claims made in your question?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Would you like big screen?
No, I can give you the source and you can tell me. Okay?
Okay, no worries. The time is paused, by the way. Just give the sources and we'll continue.
All right. Sahih Muslim 1365e.
Okay, Sultan, would you like a minute to check it over?
Yeah. He said, what was it?
Sahih Muslim 6135. No, Sahih Muslim 1365e. Sorry, I misspoke.
All right. Yeah, we'll just give him a second there to check it over. And as soon as he starts answering, we'll restart the time. Or reset the time. Yeah. For the time being, everyone, make sure you double tap the screen, share the live. Christians and Muslims, be ready from now in the request box for the Q&A period after the closing statements. The closing statements will be 5 minutes each party. And afterwards, we will have 3 Muslims come up and ask Coptic, and 3 Christians.
Right.
Can we
just name the woman one more time.
Safi bin Tuhiyya.
Okay, كفو حلو. Okay, so you know الطبقات الكبرى, right?
Yeah, not طبقات الكبرى. Yeah.
Okay, you know الطبقات الكبرى. Do you know Ibn Sa'd? Well, I'm not supposed to ask you questions, so let me just answer it. If you go to طبقات الكبرى by Imam Ibn Sa'd rahimahullah, and then you look at the entry that he has on her, it mentions the entire story.
I know it. It's gonna say.
One sec. Coptic, when he's answering, please allow him the full 45.
I know it, but I know it. I'm gonna say it. He's gonna agree if I say yes.
I understand, Coptic.
But I would say if I say he can say just say yes or no.
Just one moment. Was it?
But if I said no, I'm saying I know what he's gonna say. So if I'm gonna say it, he can say it.
So you know I'm gonna say.
Volume 8.
Both of you. Okay, I muted you guys. Listen. No, we can't hear you, Coptic. Coptic, we can't hear you. Listen, guys, listen. Listen, let me moderate the debate. Coptic.
But I know the quote, Alibiano. I know the quote.
Coptic, ya Habibi, Wallah, I know. Even if you know the quote, you have to allow him his time to answer. You can't cut him off, just like we allowed you your time to answer. So let him his time to answer. When you're done, you could continue on. Okay, Sultan, I'm going to restart your time. Go ahead.
Okay, so if he's aware of the source, then he should know. The Prophet asked her, do you want to be a Jew or do you want to become a Muslim? And then she said, I want to become a Muslim. Okay, so she consented.
The one that says, so the Prophet said to her, make your choice. If you choose Islam, I will seek for myself. If you choose Judaism, I'll set you free and send you your people. She said, O Messenger of Allah, indeed I have felt affection to Islam and testified to you. Before you gave me this invitation, when they came to you, I have no guardian among the Jews, neither father nor brother, but I prefer Islam over disbelief. Allah and His Messenger are dear to me. Freedom and return to my people. This is the quote, yes, by Ibn Ishaq. This would contradict every Islamic source outside Ibn Ishaq.
Do you have a question?
Okay. I just give you.
Yeah, Coptic, if you have a question, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so why in every other book it says it's literally otherwise?
I don't know what every other book means.
Yeah, I gave you Sahih Muslim 658. I gave you Sahih Muslim. I can give you from the Sirah by Ibn Hisham, from the Sirah by Ibn Ishaq. Look what it says here. You want me to read what it says? It says.
No, you don't have to. I'm not like. What's your point?
Okay.
The question here: why did she have to analyze the father?
I'm gonna pause the time again, guys.
I don't get what you're trying to ask.
Yeah.
Very simple. The question is: why did the Prophet?
Wait. Guys, again, this is not a conversation. Coptic, it's your time to question. And Sultan, if it's a yes or no question, he must give you a yes or no answer and expound. So please, let's conversate, or less conversating and more questions and answers, please. Go ahead, Coptic, if you have a question, go ahead. I'm gonna restart your time in 3, 2, 1.
But he's not answering the question. By Ibn Ishaq, Tabaqat al-Kubra, in the same one, it says the opposite of literally what I said. So why doesn't he want me to say it?
Wait, am I allowed to ask like a clarification so I can get his point?
Yeah, I'm gonna pause the time to ask clarification.
What is it contradicting?
Was it contradicting? In the same Tabaqat al-Kubra which you're quoting, it says that Safia refused to sleep with the Prophet, which upset him. On the same night, the Sahaba was there, and he was scared for his life. So before she stabbed or something like this. So why he didn't instead watching?
I heard the P. Where's the not P?
The P not P is the fact that she, what do you call it?
That she consented in the other sources?
Yeah.
So hold on. So your whole point behind your question is to prove that she consented. Are you out of your mind?
No, my whole point is why do you have to...
You mean the other way around?
Okay, all right.
That wasn't the question. The question is this, guys. Just one second. The question. I want to say the question because I haven't clarified my...
Yeah, Coptic, one time. Let's just let this sound go away. Okay, so Coptic, I want you to... guys, because we're going to be here all night. So I'm going to reset the time after Coptic asks his question one more time. And I'm going to reset the time for Sultan to answer. And guys, we can't be here all night. So Coptic, please make your question very precise. So what that means is if you're saying that one contradicts the other, make sure what it is what the contradiction exactly is that you're trying to point out, so Sultan can know how to answer it in his time. So go ahead, Coptic. As soon as you question, I'm going to reset the time.
Okay, the question here is this idea of giving a choice to accept Islam or choose Judaism is known to be found only by Ibn Ishaq in the Tabaqat al-Kubra, right? In reality, every other source from the Hadith, from the Sirah, from everywhere else says opposite. The question here is this: why did the Prophet have to analyze the brother, the father, the husband as an offensive jihad to make a convert to Islam? Because she converted to Islam essentially. So my question is why and how do you justify it?
All right, go ahead.
Dude, this is literally changing.
By the way, I have the thing ready, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, like you changed the question. That's fine. But with the Battle of Khaybar, yeah, then you should already know, since you know a lot of these details, that the Battle of Khaybar was an attack done out of danger. So you know that the Muslimin were very suspicious of them, so they went ahead and attacked back.
Oh, that's your response? Where is the proof? Give me proof.
You didn't ask me for any.
I'm asking for a source.
Right now, I don't have it on me. Right off the top of my head, I can give you.
I can give you time. We can give you 5 minutes to look for it. I'll give you 10 minutes to look for it.
Oh no, dude, that's not how a debate works.
There's no.
I'm just telling you my background knowledge. I'm telling you my background knowledge. Like, I don't have it on me right now on the spot.
Yep, but I'm giving you 10 minutes so you can find it. Like, no problem.
No, I'm good, bro.
But there's no proof for what you're saying.
Oh, yeah,
That's like me saying Jesus.
Then you can just say I'm making it up. That's fine. You can just accuse me of making it up.
So Coptic, you asked him. He said he can't give you the source on hand right now, and that's up to him. So you're gonna have to move on. Go ahead. Next question.
All right, no worries. Okay, no worries. But like, this wasn't answered. I don't know why it wasn't answered. But okay, that's fine. Okay, so the second question would be this: why did the Prophet why did the Prophet attack villages in Anala of men and take captives and trade a girl for a Muslim prisoners?
I don't
And they convert to Islam. Why?
Why? What? I don't get the
So
question.
Islam teaches.
What?
Say again, sorry.
What? Okay, you need to talk slower.
Sorry, my apologies.
What,
It's just
what was the question? Why did
the
Islam?
question is, why did the Prophet had to attack a village, kill the man, take female captives, trade girl for Muslim prisoners? Why?
That's so vague. What the hell does that even mean? I don't know what you're referring to.
It's all these heinous acts for them to convert to Islam. Why?
I don't know what you're referring to. Are you referring to something specific?
Yeah, I am.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Can you name the event?
Yeah, Sahih Muslim 1755.
I said the event.
Yeah, the one that it's where in the one in Medina.
Dude, there's so many things that happen in Medina. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, that's me saying.
Am I being unfair?
The time's going. I can give you.
Okay, guys, okay, Coptic. Okay, I paused the time. Coptic, can you please just give him the exact event you're speaking about so he could address you?
Okay, so here it says, look. It says, when we were only an hour's distance from the waters of the enemy, Abu Bakr ordered us to attack. We made a halt during the last part of the night. Rest. Then we attacked from all sides and reached the watering place. When a battle was fought, some of the enemies were killed and some were taken prisoners. I saw a group of persons that consisted of women and children. I was afraid lest they should reach the mountain before me. So I shot an arrow between them and the mountain. When they saw the arrow, they stopped. So I brought them, driving them along. Among them was a woman from Banu Fazara. She was wearing a leather coat with her and her daughter, who was one of the prettiest girls in Arabia. I drove them along until I brought them to Abu Bakr, who bestowed the girl upon me as a prize. We arrived in Medina. I had not yet disturbed him when the Messenger of Allah met me in the street and said, "Give me the girl." "O Salama," I said, "Messenger of Allah, she has fascinated me. I had not yet disturbed her." When on the next day the Messenger of Allah again me on the street, he said, "O Salama, give me that girl. God bless your father." I said, "She's for you, Messenger of Allah. I have not yet disturbed her." Her and the people of Mecca signed her as ransom, and the number of Muslims who have kept her prisoners at Mecca.
Dude, I am not a hadith scholar to literally know the context of a hadith off the top of my head like that. You either name me the event, or I'm gonna have a hard time telling you what you want to hear.
No, but I just want to know, like, why.
You didn't tell me what the event is. That. Do you know how many? Do you know like the Battle of Khandaq literally fits that description you just mentioned?
Okay,
but I don't know if it's Khandaq.
It has to do with a woman. Her name is Abu Fazra. Banu Fazra.
That's not an event name, bro. Sorry.
Okay, guys, we're gonna be here all night. Coptic, do you have a specific name for this event?
I told you guys the event is Fazra. But anyway, okay, it's alright. It's alright. It's okay. I'm okay with this. Now the question would be this, okay? Why did Ali burn the people alive and said the Prophet ordered to kill apostates?
Okay. For this hadith, they're talking about فَمَنْ تَرَكَ دِينَهُ فَاقْتُلُوهُ. This might be a long answer, unfortunately. Long story short, this was when there was like 1,000 different kuffar pretending to be Muslims trying to assassinate the Prophet. So then Ali started searching for them one by one. And then when he found the people who were trying to assassinate the Prophet, he dug a pit, he tied them all up, and then he dug them all alive. Was that act condemned? Yes, it was. Ibn Abbas literally came up to him, who was the cousin of the Prophet, and he told him, how dare you punish these people with the punishment only Allah can do, which is the punishment of fire. Meaning what Ali did was wrong. And on top of that, Ali was protecting the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ from being assassinated. So if you have a problem from getting self-protection, that's a you problem. That's the meaning of the hadith.
By the way, it's nowhere to be found in the Sirah ibn Hisham. By the way.
No problem.
Okay, so now the second question was this, right? The, what do you call it? The tribe of Banu Qurayza. Why did he have to attack a tribe and then had to unalive them because they had pubes or not?
Okay.
And then they converted to Islam. This leads to conversion to Islam. Why so much, attacked just to become Muslim?
You said it's not found in any of the seerah, blah, 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 blah. The earliest seerah that we have right now in manuscript form, it's called Maghazi Musa bin Uqba. He passed away 141 Hijri. In there, it mentioned, and also the one by Sulaiman al-Taymi, Sulaiman Tarkhan al-Taymi, 143 Hijri. This is earlier than Ibn Ishaq and earlier than Ibn Ishaq. It mentions the reason why the battle of Bani Qurayza took place was they were literally blaspheming, they were cursing the Prophet, they were bullying the Sahaba, and they were picking at the Prophet ﷺ's wives. They were trying to pick at them and harass them. So the Prophet ended up attacking them back. If you don't want to defend your wife, you can be a cuck.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That concludes our cross-examination period. We will be moving on to our closing statements. Closing statements will be 5 minutes for each interlocutor. Let me just set up the time here. Give me one moment. Okay, Sultan, whenever you are ready, go ahead.
What's going on?
It's your
Oh,
closing
the conclusion,
statement.
I forgot.
Yes, go ahead.
Man, I didn't plan for this. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I just want to preface before I end, in case it's my last words. Nobody knows, and when it's your last breath and whatnot. Any heinous behavior, any bad acting, any sinful behavior that is solely from me, okay? Any good thing you've seen today, anything you've learned, that's for the sake of Allah, and it is from Allah Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's out of the way. I just would like to remind the audience that thus far, in comparison between me and Yousif, I have brought a multitude of Christian, with the exception of one Jew, I brought a multitude of Christian sources from the 7th and early 8th century Hijri, 8th century CE, mentioning how Muslims were treating them, the Christians and Jews, specifically with a focus on the Christians, how they put them as people who were tax collectors, how they put them as political authorities where they were secretaries, how they were helping the monarchs and the kings and the khulafa, the umara, and that these women were voluntarily going ahead and wanting to get married to Muslim men. Many people were getting converted. They did it voluntarily. Remember that they sought refuge in Islam, and they went back to them. And I gave Coptic sources, I gave Armenian sources, I gave a Hebrew source, I gave a Syriac source, I gave a Greek source. I arranged it from 634, with the Doctrina Yaqubi being the first thing, and then all the way down to 730s with the bishop, Coptic one specifically, Zacharias of Achas, of Sakha. He is a Coptic bishop himself that you can find in the Saraxios. Sorry if I butchered the pronunciation. So you have a whole compilation of about 21 different sources attesting for the same thing, for the same repetitive theme. And notice the only thing Coptic was able to do was focus on Umar ibn Khattab, Amr ibn As, and specifically the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no 200 years in this discussion. All he knew was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, repeating the same tactics as every other basic apologist on YouTube, repeating the same garbage books. He didn't address the scholarly consensus that I brought regarding how Islam was during its earliest periods, especially with Thomas Walker Arnold that I brought, and multiple different books from John Davenport. He didn't address the consensus regarding how Christianity even exists at Alexandria, and there's no way to know that it exists. Have you guys heard a single primary source from him? No, we had not. Did we hear more claims than that? Yes, we did. Did we get just a bunch of chopped up ahadith, not found in the Sirah books, and contextualized inside? That's exactly what happened. Had it been contextualized, it would have been a different story. Exactly how we did just right now with Bani Qurayza, for example. So, inshallah, we have learned something new today. We have seen the light of Islam. We have seen how it liberated the people. We have seen that not taking this self-kicked, bastardized, pacifistic movement of kneeling down and bowing to the government that is oppressing you and making you kneel on your knees is the last thing you should do. But rather, you should stand up, be a man, be a courageous warrior, a God-fearing gentleman, and go and help the oppressed so you can oppress the oppressor and put them in their place, which is exactly what Islam did when it came to liberate the Jews, when it came to liberate the Coptics from Byzantine persecution, when it came to liberate the Syriacs from Byzantine persecution. And also when it went to Spain, they made people in there very literate. They made them in there very educated. They brought about philosophers. They brought about engineering. Guys, don't forget the point about the lack of, advancements that the Christians made. When we talk about the spread, this doesn't just include the methodology, it includes what it came with. And with Islam, we brought in philosophers, we brought in theologians, we brought in doctors like Ibrahim bin Habib al-Fazari, one of the biggest famous astronomers. Then we had Muhammad bin Musa al-Khawarizmi, one of the biggest mathematicians. Then we also had multiple different beautiful historians, as we mentioned today, like Yaqub al-Hamawi, or Imam ibn Sa'd, or al-Baladhuri, or al-Waqidi, or beautiful exegetes as well, like we have from Ibn Jurayj or Sufyan al-Thawri, and very good ai who were very proficient in multiple different fields. This is what Islam brings about. It brings a community that can harmonize. And he says that his own community constantly gets dangled and it gets persecuted. One question is all you have to think about. When it comes to ancient mosques, how many of them do you see remaining in Europe? And when it comes to ancient churches, how many of them do you still see in the Middle East? It's a difference like night and day. You can never confuse them for each other. Otherwise, Jazakumullah khair for listening. Barakallahu feekum. I apologize if I did very bad. I had lots of things going on in the background. But Barakallahu feekum. I hope you guys learned something there.
Thank you very much. We will be moving on to the final period of the debate itself before the Q&As. You have 5 minutes. Yousif, whenever you start talking.
Just 1 sec, please.
No worries.
All right. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. So before I start, I just got to always remember this. Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. He said, love your neighbor. He said, love your brother. And obviously the Prophet of Islam said that I have testified to fight the disbelievers and for them to testify there is no God except God and Muhammad is the messenger. So we can see the clear difference between the two. But so here, let's discuss something. Okay, I asked Sultan on. I gave him 10 minutes on giving me the source about the what do you call it? The Khaybar story about Safi bin Tuhiyya, and he didn't do it. I wonder why. And I told him that I have 16 other sources, 16 from the same sources. Tabaqat al-Kubra, al-Maghazi. He thinks I don't know al-Maghazi. What do you call it? From the Sirah, from the Hamshab, from Sirat Rasulullah. He also said, I didn't quote. Okay, so this guy's, I think the debate's over. Why? Because he conceded that Islam spread by the sword, by military conquest and slavery. He conceded. It wasn't me. It was him who said it. Okay, that's his own words. He said, I conceded it. That's cute. Anyway, so when I gave you the hadith about the Banu Qurayza, a lot of people don't understand. There is actually a scholarship on this. Even Dr. Raymond Ibrahim and Ibrahim Ayman says that Muslim historians actually they say that this was an economical cause. When the people who were against the Muslims, it wasn't because of religion, it wasn't because they were Muslims. It was actually because of economical status, right? Because leadership, they want to show, they want to take power, right? And the king there, I don't know what his name was. He was like a really, really rich of the tribe, like the biggest tribe there, who was controlling all the other tribes. And he said that they should all listen to me. Why should they listen to the God of Muhammad? So, I want to say something very clear here, okay? He said I didn't quote. I quoted primary sources. Even Al-Makrizi says what? Says he quotes primary. He says that 33,000 churches were destroyed in the Middle East. 33,000 churches. He says that the Muslims burned the Holy Scripture Church in Jerusalem. Right? He testifies to the acts of violence that the Muslims committed and the atrocities they committed. Now, he conceded that I agree, I as well agree. I agree that the Muslims sometimes are peaceful. Even the Coptic historian Habib Isis al-Masri agrees with this. Says that the Coptic, that the Muslims were peaceful sometimes. Even Amr ibn As was like really peaceful times where there was no persecution at all. No persecution completely, literally no persecution. But when the entrance came, they slaughtered and they took. John of Nicaea says, which he keep quoting, I don't know why, which he himself he goes really, really deep into Islam. He just keeps attacking Islam. He attacks the God of Muslims. He attacks the religion of Islam. He attacks everything that Islam has and doesn't have. Right? He attacks Hadith science. Even Bulus ibn Rajab, the Sheikh of Islam, he became a Christian, by the way. Even Al-Mu'azzis, who became a Christian as well. All these scholars becoming a Christians, you know. In Egypt, in my country of Egypt, you guys know how many Sheikhs become Christians? So many Sheikhs from Sheikh Al-Azhar become Christians. How many Coptic bishops became Christians? 0 Coptic bishops. 0 Coptic bishops became Muslim. 0 Coptic bishops became Muslim. Subhanallah, I thought Islam is the religion of Haqq. In Egypt, the Coptic Christians know where is the truth. The Coptic Christians know that Christianity is the truth. And they don't like Muhammad, they don't like Islam. They know this, right? They studied Islam. We learn Islam in school. We're taught the Quran in school, right? That's why there's so many. My cousin is a Hafiz. My other cousin, cousin Flabatir is a Hafiz. Cousin Karol is a Hafiz. 3 of my cousins are Hafzin Quran, the whole Quran, right? But they're not Muslims, they're Christian, they're Coptic Orthodox Christians. They're Miaphysites, okay? So now let's all pay attention, okay? What I said. I named you 31 Muslim, Christian, Jew, Austrian, pagan historians about this. You can't even back the idea of infanticide, which is a myth that they made to show that Islam gives right. This idea of infanticide, that the Arabs used to unalive this, is a lie, and I can debunk this right now. Even the Religious Council of Saudi Arabia said that this is actually metaphorical. It didn't actually happen. There is no proof for such claim. Okay? Now, forget all of this. Now, I don't know why he didn't explain why Khalid bin Walid killed other Muslims because they said this, and why Abu Safwan said, if you don't say that Muhammad is Messenger, or you will face the sword. Why? And I want to say this very clearly. Anything wrong I said is from Satan. Everything right I said is by the power of the Holy Spirit. May the Lord thank for saying something wrong. And many points I made. Now, who you want to follow? Do you want to follow a person who participated in wars, or do you want to follow a person who never participated in wars and he was a teacher without even him taking a degree? So the question really here is, he conceded to that Islam was spread by the sword, and this was my whole point. Islam was really spread by the sword. It was by force and religion. Either you accept Islam or you face the sword. Or Gizya.
Thank you very much. That concludes the debate itself. We will be moving on to our Q&A period. Give me a moment here. Let me just set up something quickly. Here we go. Okay, excellent. Who wants the first question?
Let him have all 3.
Pardon?
Jazakallah khair, Akhi Muhammad. Jazakallah khair, barakallah fik.
Let's make it as many people as
all
you want.
3 in a row.
How about this, Libiano? Let's make it as many
One
people
second.
want to ask questions.
One sec. It's going to be 3-3, so we're going to have 6 questions. Okay? So it's 3 Muslims, 3 Christians. Who wants to go first?
He can go first.
Okay, so we're going to bring up a Christian first. Let me just look at the requests and tell me, Coptic, if you see somebody specific you want to rise.
Okay.
One sec, let me just write this down to keep track. Okay. All right, so we have a guy called Yeshua.1. We have, let's see, I think he's a Christian.
Is Coptic Prince requesting?
Let me see, man. No, I don't see him.
His name, Coptic Prince. Are you request? Can you make me mod so then I can see if that's okay with you, of course.
Sure. No worries.
Yeah, bro, we gotta make him a legislator just to prove our point.
Okay, I'll make you mod. Here you go. You could bring somebody up.
You see Coptic? No jizya.
All right, 27 requests. Let's see. Manage request. You got Jaden. I don't know Jaden. One sec. Capti, Ahmed Qureshi, Central Dama, Akhi X, Ahmed, Omar the Muslim, Islamic Defender, Athanasius. Okay, let's add Athanasius.
Okay. You could go ahead and bring them up if you want.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Let me just do the layout. Okay. Athanasius, go ahead and ask your question to Sultan and then drop. Sultan will answer and then Coptic will get to comment on that as well. Okay, go ahead. We can't hear you, Athanasius. Hello? Athanasius? Hello? Okay, yeah, that didn't work out. Coptic, if you want to pick someone else.
Okay. Is King Sylvia? 1 sec. I don't know who's here.
There's Coptic. There's a guy called Coptic in the _ Coptic.
Okay, 1 sec. Is Coptic Prince here? Coptic Prince, if you're here, just tag me. Just write in the comments or something.
Okay, so let's just make this fast, because it's taking too much time. So
just add 1 sec. I'll just add J. Okay, add the Christians are requesting, but then they're removing the request. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, add. 1 sec. Bro, I accept.
Look, Saint Cyril just walked in if you want to bring him up.
But I don't think you will save the whole debate.
yeah.
You're like canceling the request, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just confessed it in the chat, bro.
Amira. Okay.
Let me see. Let me take away my mods.
Thank you very much for bringing me up. My question is for Eminem. My question is, Eminem quoted sources that Christians were persecuting the Jews and that Islam came and liberated them. How can this happen?
I never, no, I didn't do that.
Can I finish the question?
Sure.
Okay, even if Christians weren't persecuting the Jews, you quoted sources that the Jews were being persecuted and Islam came and liberated them, right? But how can...
Okay, never mind. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I did do that. You mean the Byzantines. Okay, sure.
Yeah. How can this happen when... Let me just restate the question because I think we got off track. Eminem quoted sources that Christians were persecuting the Jews and that Islam came and liberated them. How can this happen when the Prophet Muhammad said that he would expel the Jews from the Arabian Peninsula and from Israel? Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Not sure what he means. Like I just don't get it. Okay, he expelled them from Arabia. I guess they can't be in Spain no more. They can't be in China. They can't be in Syria. Ban them out of Egypt maybe too. I don't really get the point.
Okay. Is that your answer, Sultan?
Yeah. I don't exactly get the question, but sure, yeah.
Excellent. Coptic, you have a comment on that?
I don't disagree. Why would I disagree? Maybe add Mariam, Coptic, I think.
Oh, okay. Guys, who's bringing people up? Coptic, don't. No, it's not a Christian. So please. So it's a Muslim turn now. Sultan, I'm gonna give you mod.
Yeah, I said like you can bring all three in a row. That's fine.
No, I want to do Muslim Christian. That's
Okay.
okay. You want Central, Chad, Kalam Maxing, Omar?
Omar, like with the Arabic?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him up.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful debate, guys.
As-salam ala man ittaba al-huda.
Thank you so much for admitting Christianity was spread by deception. But let's get to the question. So, Coptic, you said, bring me one... by deception. You said, bring me one source that talks about Safiya, not being forced and all of this. Do you know Taqrib Sahih Ibn Habban? Coptic? Here, let me if I can get big screen. and I'll put the source on the screen. I can't read it though right now because I'm out. I just see the first part where it says Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then from there.
You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, or I can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, because I can't.
I'll do my best because they're small. واصطفى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صفية بنت حيي واتخذها لنفسه وخيرها بين أن يعنقها فتكون زوجته أو تلحق بأهلها فاختارت أن يعنقها وتكون زوجته ولكني جئت بمال كان لي ها هنا أردت أن أجمعه وأذهب به فاستأذنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأذن لي أن أقول ما شئت تخفف عني ثلاثة ثم اذكر ما بدا لك قال فجمعت امرأته ما كان عندها من حلي ومتاع جمعته فدفعته إليه ثم استمر به.
Okay, according to this, so I'm going to give, by the way, it is the Rijalu Thiqat, by the way. If you go to the next page, page 383, 393, I can show it if you want Coptic. According to this source Coptic, because the ones that you quote from Ibn Ishaq and Tariq al-Tabari, if you're going to quote those sources, by the way, you didn't bring a single, you didn't show any source on your screen during the debate.
No,
I want you to show the chain of narration. According to this source, according to the source, does it say that he forced her to marry him?
According to the source, you could say, yeah.
According to Disney, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Omar. Go ahead, Coptic, for your answer.
I would say that many other sources would say otherwise. That's what I would say. I don't know. I don't know the source, so I can't comment on something that I'm not familiar with. He said it's called what? What is the book called again? Sorry.
It's from Ibn Hibban.
No,
The specialist.
Never heard of it. No. Oh, actually, I do. One sec. I do. So here what Ibn Hibban says, right? Okay, look what he says, Ibn Hibban. He says, Abdullah bin Umar narrates the Safiya, Rasulullah was among the most hated person for me. While he killed my husband and my father and my brother, then he used to make excuses that my father used to incite the Arabs against him. He kept on apologizing for long till I was no more angry. Great. Sahih. That's Ibn Hibban.
Okay, thank you very much, Sultan.
Does Omar want to justify his position or Yaqub want to justify his position?
Yeah, it says وخيرها it says وخيرها بين الإسلام وإن أرادت أن تكون يهودية, something like that. He says, and he made her choose whether she wanted to go between being a Muslim or she wanted to become a Jew. And if she wanted to be a Muslim, she could be his wife. And if she wanted to be a Jew, she can literally go back to wherever she wants.
Yeah, Coptic, this is not a conversation. So you get to answer, then he gets to comment, then we move on. So.
Yeah, it says that she hated him so much that, what do you call it? That even he used to make an excuse for the father.
Yeah, Coptic.
Okay.
You could have.
No, okay.
Yeah. Okay, Sultan, that was your comment. You have nothing else to say?
It's not that long, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we have a Christian questioner now. Go ahead, Coptic, if you want to bring someone up.
He's pretending to be a Christian. He's pretending to be a Christian.
Oh, we have Agen. You want to bring Agen up? He's your friend?
Where is Agen? I can't say. Yeah, bring Agen. Go.
Okay.
Yeah, Agen.
Hear me?
Go ahead.
Question for Eminem. Given the universal and accepted definitions of peaceful, which are free from disturbance and not involving violence or war, because you conceded Islam was objectively spread by the sword, would you also concede that the first 200 years of Islam were not peaceful?
Where'd you get that definition from? You said it's universal.
Okay, so...
wait, don't kick him. Don't kick him. No, don't kick him. Where'd you get that definition from, Yazidi?
So just wait. So I just want to remind everybody of the format. There's the question.
That's my question?
Yeah, Agen, I'm speaking. I'm speaking now.
Oh, so I didn't hear. Can you restart?
So the questioner asks the question. If Sultan wants a quick clarification, I will grant it. And then after the clarification is made, Agen will drop, Sultan will answer, and Coptic will get to make a comment. Go ahead, Agen, and ask.
Did you guys hear my Okay, I'll ask
Yeah, we heard
again.
the question, but I'm asking you, where'd you get this so-called universal definition from? Where's that from?
This is from the Oxford Dictionary. If you just type in
That's
peaceful on
universal?
any search engine, this is what you'll get.
Oh, on your search engine is
I mean,
universal.
do you disagree? Do you
Yeah,
disagree
I
with this
just don't grant
definition?
that assumption. Yeah, I disagree with the definition.
Okay, what's your definition? Peaceful, so that you
okay.
can
Yeah, that's
answer
the
my
second question.
What's
It
your
doesn't matter.
definition of peaceful?
That's a new question. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
guys.
Okay, so you disagree with the accepted definition.
Okay,
Thank you.
guys, stop. It's one question, one answer. Agen, your question was, according to this universally accepted definition of what it means to be peaceful, which is without harm, okay, is Islam peaceful? Sultan, make your answer clear one more time, and then Coptic will go ahead and make the comment. Go ahead, Sultan.
Yeah, the distinction between peaceful and unpeaceful is not the act of harm itself, it's the injustice, okay? It's the nature of the act, not the act itself, it's the nature of the act. If you want to say putting a person, like a criminal, in jail is, unpeaceful, you want to take in that definition, sure, be my guest, but I think that's pretty stupid, to be quite frank. So if you take a liberationist movement to be unpeaceful because it uses military warfare, for example, to justify its goals, then I guess that's you.
Okay, fantastic. Coptic, you have a comment on that?
All I'm gonna say is just W Coptic. That's all I'm gonna say. Like W Coptic Christians.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have a Muslim now. We have Central Dawa, Kalam Maxing, Chad, Akhi X, Mustafa, Baladi, Harrani,
With a blue space guy.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah, bring him up.
Okay. All right.
By the way,
trust you, bro.
host, I can't see all the guests. By the way, so I didn't see Agan. I don't see most of them. If Coptic Prince here, just get him up, please.
No worries. I'll help
You can remove my moderator.
I'll help you out. Okay. All right.
We'll make access.
All right. So
Assalamu alaikum, ikhwan.
Walaikum salam. Mustafa, go ahead and ask your question. Make sure your question is concise and clear. Then drop, and Coptic will answer. Sultan will get to comment. Go ahead.
I want to ask this question because Coptic didn't address Eminem when it came to the opening statement. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20. This is Paul speaking. To the Jews I become like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I become like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law I become like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law. So we see that Paul is pretending to be things he's not. For what reason? For what purpose? To bring people into the church, right? So my question is, was Paul being a deceiver? And here's a definition for deception from the Collins Dictionary. Deceit is a behavior that is deliberately intended to make people believe something that is not true. So do you accept that Paul is preaching Christianity through deceit and through deceit and lying?
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Go ahead, Coptic.
So before I start, may the blessings of Saint Paul, the greatest apostle, be with us. Who is one of the most important people of the Bible after our Lord Jesus Christ, right? The greatest of the greatest, Saint Paul, who was a TR, who was a murderer, who was and repented, and from Saul became Paul. So what he means by that is that he studied so much Judaism and other faiths that he became like the Jews. That's why he says, "For I became a Jew." Right? What he means by that is that he became a Jew. Now you're going to quote Romans 7:3 where it says, he advocates for deception. No, it doesn't. If you read the next verse, it says, those who deceive God. Right? So when Saint Paul is saying that, he means that he studies so much their faith that he would just, if you read Acts, it literally says that he debated Jews and would used to destroy them and convert them to Christianity. When Jews used to literally convert to Christianity, families used to convert from debates. If you open Acts with me. So the verse literally says, is that he studied so much that he became like the Jews in the sense of that he became like the Jews. But it didn't mean as if the same thing the others, by being a Jew, he became a Roman. No, it doesn't say that.
I'm gonna need you to forgive me for interrupting you. Yo, bro, there's people blaspheming on both sides. It's very heavy.
Yeah.
Everybody's sending la'na on each other.
Okay, it's because I had to take away everybody's mod earlier. I'm gonna give back mods. Mods, please. Omar, I'm gonna give you mod actually. Please take care of blasphemy from both sides, and please be just and fair and who would mute. And don't block anyone. On second offense, block them. But first offense, try to mute them for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Sultan. It's your comment on that question.
Yeah, that he doesn't. He's not really addressing it. He's saying he studied so much, but he's saying I did it to win them over. I did it to win him over. And whenever it's not the Jew anymore, he says I become a Gentile to win them over. So depending on who he's talking to, he's gonna adapt to them. Even though he adheres to one lifestyle, he's going to adhere to two lifestyles. One that is Torah observant, the other one that is not. And that's why you'll find Eusebius, for example, he'll justify that you can lie for the sake of the faith if it makes it look better through that passage, as far as I can remember.
Thank you.
By the way,
Yeah, you don't get to.
the Romans 7:3, it's a whole different topic. But anyway, now we're speaking about when it became like a Jew.
Stop it. You don't get to comment on it again. So when somebody is questioning you, you get to answer. He comments. We move on. When somebody's questioning him, he gets to answer. You comment. Then we move on. Okay. So we have a Christian now. So give me a second. I'm just going down. Let's see. Just tell me
If King Silver, Coptic Prince, or any of those are requesting, accept them, please.
So there's Jamal for Jesus. There's M with a cross. There is Christ is King.
Athanasius, okay. Athanasius, is this Ali? Athanasius, are you Ali? If you're Ali, come up. Athanasius, if you're Ali, come up. If you're not Ali, don't come up.
Okay, Athanasius. Here we go. Omar, I gave you the other Omar. I gave you mod, by the way, so make sure there's no blasphemy in the comments from both sides. Athanasius, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
Hear me, right?
Yes.
I don't
Go ahead and
know.
ask your question.
Yeah, you know the Quran verse يا أيها النبي لما تحرم ما أحل الله لك. In the tafsir of this verse, Muhammad, he was cheating on his wife with
Do you have a
Maria
historical
Qibtiyya.
question, sir?
Maria Qibtiyya. So this verse came to make it halal.
Do you have a historical question, sir?
Yeah. Can you wait until I finish?
Sultan, just please let him finish his question.
Athanasius, قول بالعربي. لو أنت عايز قول بالعربي.
No, he doesn't need to understand them.
No Arabic. Please, because everybody's watching, right? So please ask your question, Athanasius.
But he can't speak English, bro. He's ex-Muslim. He's from Egypt. He can't speak
Okay,
English.
تفضل تحدث.
No. Sultan, listen. There's 700 people here. We all want to understand. So Athanasius, please ask your question in the English language if you can. If you can't, we'll replace you with someone else. Go ahead.
Athanasius.
Okay. I'm just
Okay, if he's not going to take, okay, add Oyman's father then. One second.
I'm gonna drop him. His Wi-Fi is slow and he's cutting off. Can you just
Okay, add Oyman's father. Okay.
pick someone else, please?
Can I just like address that real quick, if you don't mind, because he's like accusing the Prophet of cheating.
Okay, just Sultan Akhi, please address it after. Okay.
طيب, inshallah.
Yeah. So go ahead, man Spider. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I just had a brief question. So I really didn't get a good answer from you when Copt asked you, how did otherwise when the Muslims oppressed the Egyptians or took over Egypt after the Byzantines gave it to them, right? How did they spread their word and their Quran if they spoke Arabic and the main language in Egypt at the time was Coptic, with the exception of some Greek speakers? And the oppressors and the invaders all spoke Arabic. There was not a single one that spoke either Coptic or Greek. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sultan. Go ahead.
This is like so low tier. The way they did it is the exact same way any normal person does it when they go to a new country. When Zayd bin Thabit was having the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talk to a bunch of Syriac Christians, and the Prophet just shrugged it off and didn't know Syriac, what did he do? He told Zayd bin Thabit, go learn Syriac. Surely and truly, 3 weeks later, Zayd bin Thabit comes in and he knows Syriac. So he starts translating what the Prophet did, and bada bing, bada boom. Wow, I wonder how civilizations culminate. When the Muslims went to Persia, even though the Arabs didn't know Farsi, guess what they did? They sent people to learn Farsi. So then they figured it out. Phew.
Excellent. Thank you,
Can I comment on that? Can I comment on that?
Yes, yes.
If you don't mind?
Yes.
Actually, the funny thing is, there is not a single Sahaba who knows Coptic. No person knows Coptic out of your Muslim Sahaba. Not a single person in the Muslims knows Coptic.
All right. Thank you very much. We have one final question, a Muslim question for Coptic. Tell me, so there's Central, Kalam, Chad, X, Akhi X, Beladi.
Like I've seen X beg like crazy, so let's see what I got.
All right, Akhi X, go ahead.
The bro, don't ruin it for me.
No way. I'm up here. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yo, I just wanted to just quickly answer. Maria Qibtiyya was a Sahabiya who knew.
No. Just question.
Here's the question.
We're gonna have to kick you, bro.
Actually, I muted you there because we have to be fair.
Here's the question. I don't know the format. I'm new to this. Here's the question.
Okay, the question, please. Go ahead.
I'm just a village man. Okay, so real quick, I just had a verse. Could he explain this to me? He said that Jesus was peaceful and lovely. It speaks about captive women. He's an activist for women getting raped. I would like him to condemn this immediately. It says here, when the Lord your God gives you victory in battle and you take prisoners, you may see among them, what's that say? A beautiful woman that you like and want to marry. Okay, take her to your home where she will shave her head, cut her fingernails, and change her clothes.
To be fair, wallahi.
She's to stay in. Wait, 1 second. Here's the part.
Because it's not the first 200 years. That's like the Old
She's to
Testament.
stay in your home and mourn. This is my type of question. Mourn her parents. So here we slayed the mother, we slayed the father, we slayed the brother. We are to keep her in the basement to mourn for a month. After that, you may marry her. Later, if you no longer want her, right? There's no goodwill back then. You are to let her go free, since you forced her to have intercourse. So I know Jesus is peaceful and kind. Who's speaking here? Who's given this law here that says to go great?
Okay, before you
أخي لبيان والله to be fair
the tafsir says that tafsir al-Injil, just one tafsir al-Injil, does he accept this tafsir?
Okay, thank you for your question. Coptic, I'm gonna have to be fair. The topic is the first 200
years, yeah.
Let me
Yeah, but I want to respond to it because
no, it's invalid.
But this is going to give Shubahat. This is going to give Shubahat. This is going to give Shubahat to the. This is going to give Shubahat to the.
I know, but I just want to. I'm speaking, please.
But you didn't clarify for Safi ibn Tahir. Let me answer this as well.
Habibi, I know. Just hear me out. I'm trying to be fair to you right now. So the topic was the first 200 years. So it is out of topic, but I will ask Coptic if he wants to answer it. If he doesn't, it's okay. We could have another question. If he does, he'd be generous for that. So go ahead, Coptic. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'll answer it. Yeah.
Okay.
Please make my question big.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here, as you can see, guys, it says, when you go out, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God gives you them, your hand, and you take them captive. You see how it says captive, right? Captive, right? Pay attention, guys. When you see among the captives a beautiful woman, not woman, you desire to take her to be your wife. So when you choose one of them in the war back then, obviously because a lot of women would just stay single, so what would be, or winded, it would just be to take them as wife and then bring her to your home and then go to salon and basically take off her clothes, she was touched, she'll remain in your house. So all basically this is basically once you find a wife in the war, you can take her as a wife. And then it says, look what it says. It says you if she wants to go, let her go in her own way. Right? Now,
Now this will just backfire on Islam, because in Islam it's opposite. You can take as many as you want, milik yamin, captives, and actually she doesn't have to wear hijab. She can just be straight naked. The aura of a slave is the aura of a man, right? At the same time, she can be sold, she can be humiliated, she doesn't have free will. Nothing of this. Now, how are you going to justify this? Okay, so the God of the Bible is being more merciful. And by the way, guys, those laws don't apply this anymore. The Bible says that we're only slave to sin. We're not slave to anyone, right? The Bible says as well that if any of you takes a slave, sells them, or gives them anyone, it should be put to death. It condemns such behavior, even if someone did. Okay, that's what I would say.
So much, Sultan. Go ahead if you want to make a comment on that. Go ahead.
Nah, it's irrelevant.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. That concludes the debate. 3 questions from the Muslims, 3 questions from the Christians. Thanks everybody for showing up. We appreciate every single one of you. The interlocutors, I'm sure, appreciate all the gifts as well. Thank you, Sultan and Coptic.
لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بارك الله فيك بارك الله فيك الله يحفظك
Thank you,
الله يحفظك بارك الله فيك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
Cordial for respecting the rules, for respecting the host. We appreciate debates like this, and that concludes the debate.
Just before we leave, inshallah, because we spoke about Maria al-Qibtiyya, if you remember.
Yeah, so actually I'm gonna keep the live on for an after party, so you could address that.
Okay, inshallah.
There. So yeah, Coptic, you don't have any final words? Because I'm gonna drop.
Thank you guys.
I just want to say, bro. Sorry I interrupted you. Please go ahead. I just realized. Go ahead.
Sorry guys, if any I did today was rude or anything like this. I have nothing but love for you guys. The Bible says, "Let your light shine before men, so they may know your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." If you find anything to be offensive or me insulting or anything like this, all I was just saying, I was just reading your own sources or material. But I didn't mean any offense or anything, even to the extent that I even say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't no disrespect between me and you guys. I love you guys, and I hope I've done this professionally as much as I can.
Thank you so much for your participation. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm gonna keep.
I really appreciate it, Yousif. Hope we can talk again next time. You take care.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna have a little after.
Before the chaos. Wait. Before the chaos commences. Okay. Number one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's 2 positions on Maria al-Qibtiyya. Yeah. Some said she's a concubine, so secondary wife. Some said she was like a primary wife, a first wife. Okay. Now, regardless of which one you take. He didn't give the sanad that he quoted from Ibn Kathir. That's the problem. Number 3, if you go to the same seerah literature, which has Asbab al-Nuzul and all the asanid in there, that entire story that he mentioned is completely gone. It doesn't exist at all. Specifically for, for example, Seerah Nabawiyya ibn Hisham and Seerah Nabawiyya ibn Ishaq and Seerah Rasulullah by Sulaiman al-Taymi, which is earlier. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. So this will be Ibn Hisham, Volume 1, page 113 of Dar al-Safa, published in 2001 in Cairo.
Excellent. Barakallahu feek.